over, now welcome to First Mint. Looking for NFT content? Look no further, cause this is it. From Top Shot to blockchain, they got the data chops, analysis, and pack drops the shows equate a hot. LG and Phil D, the best amongst others. Best brothers to happen to ball since the Ball brothers. So settle in, cause it's time for the best show. Ayo Quad, who we reppin'? First Mint. Let's go.
Whoa! What could be so funny behind the curtains that you're laughing?
Is it weird that we still play that song? Because there's so many things that are just like so out of date.
Like, that will never be out long
ago.
That's like changing the theme song to Full House. What do you think people would say? Like, no, I don't think so. I don't care if it's 40 years old. You cannot change the theme song to the First Mint. It's just, it is what it is, man.
Do you think we'll be doing this podcast for 40 years?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I'll do it from the retirement home, wherever the hell.
That'll be easier. Then we can do like all the cool, like other podcast people where they're just sitting on a couch and they just have like a stand with a microphone in front of them. That's what like every other podcast does, right? Where they're not remote. So
I'm down that's yeah, they're always sitting in a room. Like, you're right. Like when I see like Jake Paul and his brother, they always do like from remote locations and all sorts of random places. And I'm like, these guys are going to do this.
It's always
forever,
like,
right?
Yes.
I agree. Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's make a pact right now. 40 years from today. We will have our 40-year like anniversary edition.
This is episode 15,000 of
when we are 80, 82, and whatever. Wow, that'll be a disaster.
Age reveal. Watch out.
Man. Nobody knows who's really 32.
Who's who on the internet. Yeah, who knows what's going on.
People don't even know that we have a third brother yet, right? I mean, that thing is still going around.
Even
we should actually bring him on.
Could you imagine that shit? Could you imagine that like mom and dad like we're like, okay, like LG, come to Toronto, we have something to tell you guys. We're like, oh, okay, you know what it's going to be, like they're moving or moving to Mexico or something, and they're like, you have another brother.
Well,
and he's I don't know, and he's older, like they had him young and something happened or something like that, like he's 10 years even older than you or something.
They don't know where he went.
They don't know. He ran away one day and he never came back, but now he's back. And he has to join the show.
We need to Google our parents' names. Maybe we'll find something crazy like that. Like, a couple loses child at the zoo or something.
What do you think? Our third brother's Tarzan? Some kind of savage.
But on that note, I could see the reveal being like, so we were planning all these years on taking you guys on Jerry Springer. But now that he's dead, here's the real reveal. We'll do our parents would never do that. I would find that really wild.
Yeah,
I think I'd be disturbed for life that they kept that secret, to be honest. Some families, it's like the connection is not there. And I could see that happening if the parents weren't together, maybe you're all over the place. Maybe one of the parents
secrets
had a kid with somebody. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, there's all these secret things.
I just don't see it, man. But that'd be pretty wild. Even crazier if it's like somebody we knew. That'd be insane. So all the joking around.
What do you mean somebody we knew?
Being our brother? Like, he's really your brother. Or Sebastian Vettel is really your brother, guys.
Yeah, it's a famous athlete and they never bothered to tell us. And that's what mom and dad secretly do. They go to all the F1 races. They travel around the world to see Sebastian Vettel, but then they always make sure that they're back home whenever we call them or when they come to visit you. They're like, man, we haven't been doing much. Just been hanging out. Just hanging out, retired, reading books, watching old episodes of Seinfeld, whatever they do, watching blockbusters from the 90s that dad has on DVD, just hanging out.
I'll tell you right now what dad has that's not on DVD, it's still on VHS, and he would love to watch it with us, is Garfield Halloween. That was always an all-time classic. I am convinced that he still has it. And
what happens in Garfield Halloween?
I don't remember, but it's on the same VHS as the Mr. Boogedy.
Mr. Boogedy, yeah.
But you know what? Do we even know what that movie's called? Because I'm sure we watched it in French, but do we know it's the English version? It's called Mr. Boogedy?
It's called Mr. Boogedy. I'm going to pull it up so that people know what we're talking about.
It's a Disney movie.
Phil and I, so whenever we would go to one of our grandfather's house when we were kids, as everybody probably experiences around our age, it's like you go to grandparents' house and the grandparents have like 3 forms of entertainment for you, right? Like one is like maybe like a present they got you, like a cool mask or like whatever, like a helicopter, toy helicopter. 2 is walking around outside on their property or in this other place that they live, like out in the country or wherever it is. And 3 is like whatever 2 or 3 VHS tapes that they have that they recorded of like shows on TV that they're like, this is a kid show. I'll record it for when my grandchildren come over. Like that's basically like every grandparent in the 80s and 90s. That's it. That's all they had. That was plenty for when like the kids would come. So we would go to our grandparents' house, our grandfather's house, and watch this movie that he had taped over TV. I was going to pull it up, called Mr. Boogedy. And it's actually, I think, Phil, it's on Disney Plus right now. That's why I sent it to you recently. And it's basically like this, how it's so typical Stranger Things style. Like a family goes to a house, moves into a house, and it's haunted by this weird like green guy. And at night he leaves like green gobbly footprints on the ceiling and stuff. But then the dad doesn't believe the kids that it's haunted. Anyways, but we had it in French, right? Because we grew up in French, so it was, in English it's Mr. Boogedy, and in French it's Monsieur Bougatti. And then I guess after that, I don't remember Garfield Halloween. This is what it looks like. This is Garfield Halloween. I don't remember this at all.
There was Garfield Halloween and Garfield Christmas that were.
Garfield Christmas is a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Garfield Christmas is a classic. Yeah. That's a pretty well known one. I think.
Man, you're right though. I think the reason that's on my mind is because we watched it so many times. It's like every time you'd go there, you're right. There was only a few options you could do. The ping pong table is like a huge
the ping pong table. Yeah. If you had awesome,
I don't know if you were
like
old enough. Well, the organ. Our grandfather had an organ.
I remember.
And we were obsessed with it, but we weren't obsessed with actually playing normal stuff. We were just obsessed with pressing all the keys and all the music that would come out of there. Mm-hmm. And I remember that getting us in a little bit of trouble. I mean, not real trouble, but telling us to stop doing that.
No, here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. I have exactly the one. I have the exact model here. Check this out. This is it. This is the exact organ that it was. With all these knobs, with all these buttons.
Those colored buttons were amazing.
It's like, I'll just describe it. It's kind of like a wooden piano kind of thing, but then there's 2 levels of keyboard. And then on top of the keyboard, there's like green and yellow and red and black, like buttons to make all these effects. So it's not an actual, it's like an electronic organ, I guess, or something like that. It's not an actual organ like you'd have in a church. It's like because I guess he played the organ at church or something like that, right? Like,
he could play that.
He had this? Yeah, he could rip on that, right? I'm not mistaken from remembering that. So, and
there was also a golf set in the basement, LG. I don't know if you remember this. Like I said, I don't know if you're old enough, but there was like there was a little mini putt thing where he had like the things where you know the thing you have in your office that you just put like a single putt machine.
I know. Deal. Yeah,
I guess they had them back there. And I remember I'd be left down there all by myself to play with whatever there was, because I was a bit older than you.
What was I doing? I wasn't alive.
I don't know. I was definitely not told to watch you, because that wouldn't have ended well. But
I was probably like so young that they had to watch me. But
that's what I mean.
Enough. You were like 5 at that point, so you could just go do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, and I just remember, like, I know it was a putting thing, but I remember absolutely teeing off down there, like just sending balls into oblivion just to see what happens. And it was kind of tight, like quarters, so it would always hit something, and like you hear like ping, 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 and then someone would call down saying like, "What's going on down there?" I'm like, nothing. But anyways, good memories. I do enjoy those movies a lot, but I can't believe that movie's on Disney Plus. We'll have to go back and watch it. But I don't feel it'd be the same if I didn't watch it in French, because I think
it has to be in French.
Right?
It has to, honestly, like for anybody who even speaks a little bit of French, watching most movies in French is way better, because the dubbing is hilarious. Like once, Phil, you remember this when we were teenagers, I bought Night at the Roxbury on VHS because I was like, I love this movie. It's hilarious. I want it. And then when I got home and I took it out of the cardboard box VHS thing, it was in French. Like HMV or the record store, whoever it was, like totally rugged me. But then we watched it in French, and it was like 10 times funnier in French. So highly recommend it for anybody who has the French option on their movies. I'm sure Netflix has like a French dubbing option or something like that now. So
it does.
Highly recommend watching normal movies that and seeing what kind of voices they give to like known Hollywood actors when they turn them into French. When it's like, oh, George Clooney, but it's the French version of him. It's wildly entertaining, honestly. So
you can tell LG that sports are starting to drastically slow down here, because we've spent the first 9 minutes talking about old Halloween movies at our grandfather's house in a town called Gravenhurst, Ontario. And if you ever tell people that, even that are from Ontario, they're like, where the hell is that? Right? Mm-hmm. Small town. So yeah.
Small town.
Good recap on childhood memories. I was in the States for the last 5 or 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to everyone who said, hey, you're in my area. And then I'm like, yeah, where are you at? And then they didn't respond. They're just like, Like I posted in several Discords, like, hey, I'm in the Massachusetts, Rhode Island. What? The real Phil D? You didn't tell me you were coming. I'm like, well, it's my first day here. I'm telling you I'm here now. Where are you? No response. No response whatsoever.
Nothing back. Yeah. It's
No.
I think they definitely want to meet you, but then when push comes to shove that it's time to actually hang out, they're too nervous. I think you make them too nervous. I think you intimidate people a little bit.
Man. No, but it's not like I would have had time anyways. And Massachusetts is a big state. It's not like we would have been like, hey, I'm 5 minutes away, I'll come see you. But yeah, no, I think people are kind of expecting me to say, hey, I was just there. But no, I just got here. So like, oh, whoops, I won't answer for the next 5 days. And then we'll see what happens. But one thing that really caught my eyes is because the accent in Massachusetts is pretty heavy. Locals can tell when you're not from there, right? So in the hotel, they had a fabulous breakfast, great cafeteria there with free breakfast every morning. We're not just talking about your yogurt and like your bagels. We're talking about everything. There was like 10 different options. You could make your own waffles. You could have your own cereal. You could have absolutely everything. Okay. They even had fried chicken to put on your waffles and things like that. And the lady that was taking care of it was an elderly lady. And she right away, she kind of identified our accents as not being from there. And when we told her we were from Canada, much like so many other Americans, she was super nice. She just went on and on and on about, family trips when they were young to Canada. And started naming all these locations. But then this happens to me a lot in the States. People kind of don't know that, not everything is together in Canada. Okay. So she was talking about Toronto, this, and then she's talking about Timmins, Ontario, which is like, I'm like, okay. And she's like
an 8-hour drive from Toronto.
She's like, that restaurant, like
drive
into the
middle. No.
Yeah. Talking about the restaurant on the corner of this and that. I'm like, okay. The only time I ever went to Timmins, Ontario was for a hockey tournament.
That's like the equivalent. Just so people understand the difference between like Toronto and this place Timmins, a small town in Ontario, the same province. It's like saying like, hey, like I've been to New York a bunch of time when you're talking to a New York person and they're like, oh, cool. And then you're like, hey, yeah, I also went to Columbus, Ohio once. Right. And it's just like, do you know that restaurant in Columbus, Ohio? And like
on the corner of New York,
Fifth, like, I have no frigging clue, man. Like, why would I ever go there? But imagine Columbus, Ohio is a town of like 30,000 people. Like,
cool. You're from the States? Yeah. I've been to Cleveland.
Yeah. Oh, you ever go to this one diner in the middle of friggin' Utah? Oh, it's amazing.
And that's not a diss on our American friends. Like, we love you guys, but it's just geography wise. I've always watched these videos where they go around New York asking people like, show us on the map where Canada is. And they point like where Africa is, or like it's there.
They only pick the ones who can't do it. That's the trick with those things. They only show the people who can't do it. Right. So they probably have to go through like 10. To be fair, they probably have to go through like 10 people before they get to somebody who's like totally clueless. And honestly, Phil, I guarantee you, if you walked around downtown Toronto or Vancouver or whatever, and you ask Canadian people, point to the US on a map, I actually think that a lot of them wouldn't know either. I think you'd have the same rate.
That's insane. Both ways, that's insane. Like it really is. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's
so she was just naming off all these towns and she went to Montreal. She's like, yeah. So my cousin used to own a restaurant and going on about all these things as if I know what they are. I'm just like, okay, cool. Anyways. But yeah, no, it was a pretty good experience. I mean, it's just different. There's a different vibe when you're in the States and when you're in Canada. No matter where you go, it's just a different vibe. I don't know what it is. It's really hard to explain. You could say the same about when you go on vacation, but I go all over the country in Canada too, sort of. Actually, no, I only go to Montreal, Niagara Falls, Blue Mountain. That's all you can go to from here. But it's just a different vibe.
Without paying like $800 for a flight to come here.
Well, that's the other thing people don't
3,000 miles away.
It's the same as the US, right? New York to LA is like Toronto to Vancouver. Same thing. Cross country,
dude. Yeah, it's shorter to fly for you to fly to Paris than it is to fly to Vancouver. It's less time.
That is ridiculous.
Yes, that's Canada and the US are the width of the Atlantic Ocean. So it's huge. Yeah, but there's less in between here. There's less in between Toronto and Vancouver than there is between New York and LA. I'll just say that there's way less.
Yeah, on the way in, LG, like I don't get nervous. Like if I ever get pulled over by the cops, I don't care. I don't get nervous. I never get nervous when cops are driving right behind me. Like honestly, it's just there's some people freak out. You see them swerving and like they're all over the road. I don't ever get nervous. I wasn't nervous going in, but I crossed at a border in a place called Thousand Islands. And some people I may actually know this. If you know upstate New York, you probably know Thousand Islands. A beautiful area with like tons of cottages. I think a lot of celebrities have cottages there. It's not too far from Lake Placid area. That's another crossing altogether. But we crossed there and there was absolutely nobody at that crossing. So I'm just like, man, okay. There's like 5 booths. which one do you pick? Which one looks the least suspicious that I like swerve to go that way? Like, so we pull up and the US border guards are usually a lot stricter than the Canadian ones. Okay. The Canadian ones are actually, they'll smile sometimes.
Well, especially when you're coming back in.
When you're coming back in,
they're like, all right, yeah, whatever. Like, did you bring any drugs or guns? Nope, you're good.
No,
come on
exactly.
in. So unless you're acting fishy, it's different. But going to the US, it can be tough for Canadians going to the US because
they'll be tough on you.
They talk to you like you've already done something wrong. And like you're gonna go do, and like you're on your way to do something wrong. So
and hoping you freak out and like spill the beans. Like, all right, take
it away.
Right?
So, you reveal something. Yeah, it's pretty much
actually that's a whole other story. But so I pull up, give the passports. Hey, what's up? Where are you going? Hockey tournament. Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And for the first time ever, this guy like wanted to chat. So I don't know if it was like a tactic or what. No, but
totally. He's trying to get you.
He's like, yeah, no, not even though. I'm serious. Like I was trying to get rid of him. I'm like, dude. Okay, can we go now? Like,
can we go? Yeah.
Like he wants to talk about hockey. He wants to talk about the passport office being on strike in Canada.
That's fair.
All sorts of shit, man. Like he just going on, and but seriously, he wanted to talk hockey. Like he was talking full hockey details about this. Like, does that tournament? So yeah, it could be a tactic, but like I just felt like the guy was bored out of his mind. Probably hadn't had a card in like an hour. And he's like, next card that comes, I'm gonna chat my life away with them. But one more small thing before we move on, LG. The most terrifying experience I ever had crossing a border was when I lived in Ohio for 2 years.
This time?
I think everybody knows this by now. And the most fascinating part about living in the US for me was the ability to buy fireworks. Okay. In Canada, you can buy fireworks, but it's from like these pop-up trailers. It's not legal all year to buy fireworks and do.
No, yeah, there's only like a certain time window where you can buy fireworks. Yeah. So there's pop-up stores in Canada, and especially out here in BC, it's like you can buy them before Halloween and like before the Canada Day long weekend, and like so it's very like limited time. Otherwise, you buy them illegally.
And they're complete garbage too. The ones you buy here, you'll pay like $90. You get these 2 little popper things, or the firehouse that turns on fire and like goes for like an hour and just explodes. But they're boring. Like you're going to be paying $300-400 for pretty much nothing.
Our fireworks, our illegal fireworks suck. Honestly,
they're garbage. So I kept seeing on the way to Ohio from Canada, while driving through a tiny little corner of Pennsylvania on the side of the highway, I kept seeing phantom fireworks on the way there and back. I'd always see it in the Erie County area. So I said, I was coming back for Canada Day one time. And I said, you know what? I'm going to buy some fireworks for everybody. And we're going to put on a big show. And you cannot buy fireworks at those stores if you're from that state. So it was in a tiny little corner of Pennsylvania that was showing on the highway, but it was really in the middle of upstate New York, right? But you could see it off the highway and people from New York could buy from there. So I said, let me buy fireworks for like $200 and we'll do a big show. So I go in there and everything in the Phantom fireworks is like 5 for 1, like including like the massive ones. I'm like, 5 for 1. Always. So I would take 5 of these massive blocks that were like $20 and I'd put them in the cart. So I left there with like 2 or 3 carts full for $200 or $300. I call everyone back home and I'm like, listen, get everyone together. We're doing the biggest fireworks show of all time tonight. Okay. You guys don't understand what I'm bringing back. So I load up my X5 I had my suitcase and stuff. I was coming back home for the week and I load up the X5 with all the fireworks and shit. And I'd say I'm about an hour and a half from the border. So as I'm driving, one of my buddies messages me. He goes, well, I looked it up and I don't think you're allowed to cross the border with fireworks.
No way.
But it never hit. No for me, chance. Fireworks is a fun thing. Okay. So I stop on the side of the road and I look it up and it's considered explosives and like terrorism, like friggin'
100%. It's also because they can't like inspect it. Like they're not going to open it because then it's like a bomb for them. So it's like there's no chance they're going to let you in with that.
So I'm like, and I had the kids with me and they were very young at the time. So I'm like, okay, they're excited. I'm excited. What do we do with these? Do I stop on the side of the road and just light the entire thing? But it's broad daylight. Like, who cares? Like, it's not exciting, right? So I said to my son, your nephew at the time, who had to be, I think, like 4 or 5 years old. I'm like, I know you're excited, but you need to shut your mouth because if anybody asks you about these, we're going to try and cross with these, okay, and see what happens. I'll just say I didn't know you weren't allowed to, whatever. So we tested him at the last toll booth. Now, I just noticed something in the States last week is that the toll booths now, they're all automated. Like they take your license plate and they bill you. There's no more stopping and giving money to anybody. So we stopped at a toll booth and I told them this is the border. And I said, you're not going to say anything when they ask you or something. And you're not going to tell this person that we have fireworks, right? No. So I open his back window. We stop. I give him the money. Sure enough, he tells the guy that we have fireworks. Okay. Fuck, man. I knew this. I know the golden rule with kids is if you tell them not to do something, they're probably
they're gonna do it. Yeah,
I'll
I
just
like
do
he
it to
told
see what
the toll
happens to me.
booth guy. I like he like.
Well,
Yeah,
he thought
I
it was
love
the
that he told
border.
Yeah, exactly. You tricked him. You tricked him into his bad behavior.
Yeah. So immediately, we're talking like 10 feet later, I pull to the side of the road, take him out of the car, leave him on the side of the road. I'm like, we're out of here. You're staying here forever. See you later. Have a good life. Okay. Starts crying. Back in the car you go. Now, if somebody else asks you, you're not going to say anything because at the border, they make you put your back window down every time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. They show you what you got back there. Yeah.
So I'm in line and I'm scared shitless. I'm like, fuck, he already said something once, but I think I scared him bad enough that, well, he'll never see us again if he says something else. But if they ask him, right, I'll probably just say it. So I'm like, man, what do I do? So my game plan was to not lie. Okay. If they ask me specifically, if they say firearms, nope, I don't have any firearms. Nope.
Right.
They always ask that. If they say explosives, I'll be like, well, I have fireworks. And what's the worst?
Just plead ignorance and that you thought fireworks were fine, but not lie. That if they ask you about fireworks, you'll say yes. But if they don't, exactly, who cares? And
I covered them with all sorts of clothes and shit because it was taking up 90% of the car. Like it was everywhere. There were the long sticks, the big bombs, like like everything, the artillery stuff, like the things you throw in the air, the grenades, smoke bombs, everything. And I covered everything. And that's the only time I think I was a little nervous, but I tried to keep my cool. And the Canadians don't usually ask that. The Canadians actually only care about tobacco and alcohol. That's what they care about Canadians bringing back. They're scared shitless that you're going to go buy all your tobacco and alcohol on the U.S. side, and they want to tax you for it, right?
Well, we have a limit too. When we're away
That's right.
and we come back to Canada, there's a certain amount of like liquor and smokes that you can come back in with, to the point it's like when we were in college and we'd go to the US for whatever reason, on the way back we'd be like, okay, what's the limit? And everybody would go to the duty free and buy like whatever the limit was of alcohol that we could, because you're a degenerate when you're like 21.
I remember those days, and they'd always catch you if you came back from like Cuba or something. They'd catch you with like 3 bottles, and you're only allowed one.
You're done.
They'd be like, you got to pay like $100. Like,
you got to pay the duty. You got to pay the duty. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. So long story already gone by. They never asked. So you never asked about any sort of explosives or terrorist related materials, which is what it was listed as, terrorist related materials. And I got through, and I can safely say, like, that was the fireworks show of the century. I know there's still videos of that thing, but
what did you use them for? Like just for fun, or did you wait for an event or birthday?
No, it was Canada Day. It was something like Canada or Victoria Day. I can't remember, one of the two.
Okay.
That's why I got them.
Long
I just wanted to put on a show for people. Yeah. But people were so excited at these new, like, for Americans, this means nothing. They can get these all the time, and they don't get excited at this stuff. Like, it's normal.
No, it doesn't mean anything, man. Like, once I was driving through Wisconsin, and I stopped at a store called, like, Guns, Gifts, Cheese, and Fireworks. And it's like, that was literally the only thing they sold in the store was guns, cheese. Yeah, so I left with some cheese and some fireworks.
That's despicable. I don't know how those go together, but...
well, I didn't buy guns.
No, it was one heck of a display. It was quite the experience. I have to admit, I knew what I was doing when I was crossing with that illegal stuff, but I didn't buy them knowing they were illegal and be like, yeah, I'm going to sneak them in, right? But that also shows you how kind of easy it is to sneak stuff across the border if you really want to.
Wow. Right? Oh my God.
I'm just saying.
Last week, I'm talking about pump and dumps. Phil's taking it up a notch this week by saying all the illegal activities that he's recommending. So everybody in Canada who listens to this, if you need fireworks, drive across the nearest border, load up the car, bring your 5-year-old and get them to lie, and then come back into the country and have a fantastic Victoria Day, which is next weekend, or Canada Day, which is the 1st of July.
It'll save you a ton of money because, again, what you can get for $200 over there is like, I can't even tell you what you would get here for nothing. You'd get those little things that you light on, those little sparklers or whatever. You'd get those. And these again, that stupid firehouse
trash.
Stupid
firehouse. I think it's the only ones who had that. No, I don't think anybody's had that.
So that's my experience. Good times, man.
Wow. Hey, speaking of, I mean, listen, Phil, we've been kicking off the show the last couple weeks talking about playoffs. I don't think anybody wants to talk about the Maple Leafs at this point because
we're done with
it's been a pretty horrific stretch. I do want to talk NBA, but I feel like that'll dovetail into Top Shot. So I do want to talk very quickly about NHL because we have been talking about it, and I think people got a little bit invested. But there's a Game 7 tonight, Dallas Stars and Seattle Kraken. I don't care who wins. I can't imagine a less interesting Final Four for the NHL. But of course, Phil and I, as good Canadians, definitely believe that Gary Bettman and the NHL want these like obscure American teams to face each other in the finals, mainly to boost them up because they just want to keep expanding. Also, for people that don't know, no Canadian team has won a Stanley Cup since 1993. So we're 30 years now that the cup has not come back to Canada. I don't care about other Canadian teams winning it, but I do think that that's interesting, especially for the American folks to understand that as the, I guess, dominant nation in hockey, or at least most of the time, that's a little bit ridiculous that no team here, nobody's been able to build a team here to bring it home. So despite, I think 5 or 6 different finals appearances from all the teams combined, not including the Leafs, because the Leafs haven't made it to the finals in 56 years, but still pretty awful.
Did you know, LG, that an American football team last won the CFL Grey Cup since the last Canadian? I'm sorry, I worded that completely wrong. An American team has won
the Canadian Football League Championship.
Cup, the championship, since the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
So think about that. The Canadian Football League had an American team or two, and one of them won the championship since the last Canadian city to win a Grey Cup.
That's right.
Here's what really bothers me, though. Okay, and I don't know if our dad is like this or not, but what bothers me the most about Leafs fans, and I've said I don't want to get into the Leafs, but I've said that the Leafs need a culture change, and that goes from everyone in the organization. Which I don't know if you saw today, LG, but they basically said they're not doing anything. Everybody's staying.
Everybody's staying. I did see that.
Yeah, complete garbage. Okay, it's going to be the same thing all over again next year. Anyways,
it's going to be the exact same thing. You're going to finish
the
high
fan
in the
base
regular season.
Needs a full culture overhaul. Okay, I'm sick and tired of this. We already went over The Rock with his "Let's Go Leafs." That was last week's show. Okay, then there was the "We Want Florida" chants. Those things have gone viral. Okay, that's the new generation of Leaf fans who have no idea what they're doing. Okay. And then there's this thing that's bothered me forever, is that when the Toronto Maple Leafs are out of the playoffs, which has been the case for the last 50 years, ever since we've been fans, since they don't make it to the finals ever, the next best thing for Leaf fans to do is to cheer for a Canadian team that is remaining in the playoffs. Okay, which I don't understand. Like that fan base in Vancouver, that fan base in Edmonton, they don't give a shit about you. Trust me, they wanted you and the Leafs to be out. Okay, they will not cheer for you if you go out. So stop doing it. Okay. Then when the last Canadian team goes out, which happened yesterday, then you know what Leaf fans do, and it bothers me even more. They start cheering for the team that took out the Leafs, saying if that team wins, it validates the Leafs being knocked out. I hate that.
That's not how playoffs work. That's not. There's nobody cares that your team lost to the team that won it all. That especially like nobody maybe if your team made the final and went to 7 games, that's a little pat on the back. Like, hey, you're pretty close, come back again next year and do it again. And you might get lucky. But if your team lost in the first or second round to the team that won it all, your team is just another shitty team that the championship team steamrolled on the way there. Okay. And I don't care how many games it went. It's like, nobody cares at all. Like
Sixers fans are not going for Celtics right now.
Do you care that year that LeBron won in Cleveland with the huge comeback against the Warriors? Do you care that he beat the Raptors on his way there? Fuck no. Like that doesn't matter at all. Like he embarrassed
we have a parade downtown because that happened. Yeah. He beat us. I mean, he won.
It doesn't matter at all, man. Like that's so useless. Like we didn't almost beat him. Doesn't matter if it feels that way. Like we weren't close, and it's a completely different level. So
it is a wild stat.
Any sport,
that's a lot of years, right? That's a lot of years. 33 years is a lot. Something else I wanted to bring up. I brought it up on the show because I did predict last week on the show, right before the NHL draft lottery, that if it was rigged, that the Chicago would win, jump 2 or 3 teams and win that lottery. And sure enough, about an hour after we ended the podcast, the Chicago Blackhawks somehow won the NHL lottery, and the ability to pick Connor Bedard, who is a generational player coming up in the draft, with the first pick overall. Like it was obvious to me. Okay. Just the markets that were out there. The NHL can manipulate this how they want. There was no chance they were sending a Connor Bedard to like San Jose. No chance, like none. Okay. Nobody wanted to see that. Now, the other stat I want to bring up, and I've also brought this up in the past, is that no team in history of the NHL has ever won the Stanley Cup with a player averaging $10 million per year at that season on their roster. Okay. There are only 3 teams left in the NHL playoffs that don't have a player making 10 million. And that's Seattle and Dallas, who played tonight for the chance to go to the semifinals, and the Carolina Hurricanes. So if you're into placing bets on futures and stuff, I know that streak will eventually come to an end as players make more money. Yeah. But it's just it's a formula like no other in sports for hockey, is you have to have balance. And your star players have to not be paid too much, because there's just no room under the salary cap to fit anywhere else. Like, look at Edmonton and Toronto. Terrible defense, terrible goaltending, tons of goals, but that doesn't win in the playoffs, right?
No.
It's the same pattern.
You need the room to sign some really key role players who are going to make a huge difference late in games. And those guys aren't necessarily cheap. They're not the most expensive, but you need some cap space for that. And you can't have, it can't be top loaded. And for the Leafs to say they're going to run it back again next year, like everybody knows this saying by this point of like, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Like, the Leafs continue to collapse in the playoffs, and yes, it's a good season, but I think at the very least a coaching change would have made a lot of sense, because you also have a few veteran coaches in the league who are available right now, who are out of work. So it wouldn't be hard to bring in like a proven coach to kind of remix the roster a little bit. And 2 years ago, at a different playoff collapse, they lost to the Montreal Canadiens, who were terrible that year, the year of COVID, and the Leafs were up 3-1 and lost. I think after that, you need a culture reset, and you can't keep going back. So they needed to fire the coach at that point. That's what you need to fire the coach. Though. Like, and you're seeing that in the NBA right now. But you're seeing that in the NBA right now, right? It's that like every team that has these like, hey, we're in a championship window right now. We've got some good young players. We have a good core. We have good role players. We're going to remix the roster a little bit this season. But what we did this year didn't quite work that enough to win 1 or 2 rounds. All those teams have fired their coaches, and now you're going to have a little merry-go-round of coaches, and you're going to have different people. Immediately, people are like, Monty Williams, he'd be a perfect fit here. If Ty Lue's available, send him here. Nick Nurse, perfect fit here. Everybody's kind of like, okay, the way we did it, let's remix it. Everybody kind of make a few of these good coaches, championship coaches, make them available, have them change, play musical chairs, change a few spots, and remix it. And those teams might have success next year, right? But
what I love is that they did it right away,
yeah.
LG. I love that. Like I said with the Leafs, you want to send a message that we're changing the culture. You, or at the very least the coach, the next morning, you're out of here. We're done with you. Okay, but now they've let it simmer where they're like, well, we reconsidered now. And, there's what they did say from the insiders is that there's probably not someone better out there. That's what they're saying. Now, the one person I do not want to see come be the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I had to shoot this down with so many of the fan base today, is a gentleman by the name of Bruce Boudreau. Okay. Great coach. But I already told you what bothers me with the Leafs fan base and all their immaturities of not knowing that it's not let's go Leafs and that we want Florida chance and all that nonsense. Nothing would bother me more than that entire arena chanting Bruce, there it is. If that ever happens here, you have my word, LG. I will come on this podcast with every single Maple Leaf jersey I have, and I will burn them all in one pile. I do not ever want to hear the Bruce, there it is chants at Leafs games. Okay?
We're finding out that the things that bother you the most is the way that fans or celebrities cheer for the Maple Leafs. Like, that's let's go Leafs with the Rock, and Bruce, there it is.
Okay, but here's the deal. Okay, let's switch to Europe for a sec. If you go to Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, if they don't win the Premiership or La Liga for 40, 50 years and not even come close, what are the fans doing? You know what the fans are doing? They're rioting. The whole city
burning it down, man.
Okay,
burning
until the owners are gone,
city down.
Everybody's gone. Okay, they don't accept this crap. The Boston Red Sox on opening day this year, I loved it. I watched that game. Do you know what they did? In the 3rd inning, they booed the living hell out of their team in the 3rd inning on the home opener. Okay, and they had signs of "Don't bring your garbage to the city. We don't want the Bruins to have any of this," or stuff like that. And guess what? The team has gone like 21-8 since. Seriously. Okay. But the fans here, it's the same pattern all the time. Like I saw it after the game where we got eliminated. They were like, oh man, so proud of the boys. We finally got over the hump of winning a round. I can't stand it. The fan base is a big part of the issue. I said I wanted to go to that game, but I was out of town. I would have been there throwing my jerseys on the ice. I'd be booing the entire game if they were losing. I just don't like it, man. And for me, it bothers me. It has to start with the fans.
There's a democracy in sports with the fans that I think people have to realize that it's like the booing is not because you want to hurt the players personally and you want them to cry at night. The booing is literally the only way for fans to actually speak out, and sure, social media, but it's like otherwise the fans are represented by the media, and that's not always good. So it's like the booing at games, for especially for marquee teams where there's high expectations, is actually valuable. Like it is meant to hurt. It's not meant to like destroy your life, but you definitely want the players to feel it. You want the coaches to feel it. You want the GMs, the president, everybody to feel it, to get their asses booed on home ice. Right. And I think that that's like, it's a valuable tool. Right. So that's a good point about the Red Sox. I didn't know that from this year. And look
awesome.
at that. Now the Red Sox are
they're doing okay. They're doing okay.
They're the best. They're the best last place team I think there's ever been.
Well, that's that whole division
is absolutely berserk. The AL East, where the Jays are 8 games above 500, and they're in third place, which no other third place team in the majors is above 500 except for the Angels that are 1 game above 500. So yeah, a little insane. Phil, let's talk NBA though. The draft lottery is tomorrow night. Finally, you've got Detroit, Houston, San Antonio, all with 14% odds. I didn't down the list. Charlotte at 12%, Portland at 10%, Orlando 9%, and so on. The Raptors have a 1% chance of the draft lottery, and obviously the prize is Victor Wembanyama. Phil, do you have any takes at all on the draft lottery? I feel like you think that he sucks or that he's a big.
I think he's so overhyped, and you know, we like just from what we've seen with like all these things of like he's the next big superstar. Okay, the only guy you've ever been able to say that about is LeBron. All right, seriously. All right, we've heard this with so many of them, like Zion. Like, who the hell is Zion right now? You know what I mean? Like, Zion's a complete disaster. Like, seriously, right? Yeah. Like, everyone was so excited Zion's going to dominate the league for years and years and years. That's not happening. I don't know where he's going to go. I don't have any theories when it comes to the draft lottery. I think Houston will probably be a good landing spot, and I think the league wouldn't mind that at all. There's the whole James Harden angle now where he's kind of waiting to see who gets the first pick, and then he might go there. All this nonsense like that. But yeah, no, you read me right on that one. Like, I feel like he's overrated. I just do. I watch him play in Europe, and I watch him dominate those games, and I'm like, dude, that is not the NBA. Okay, that is not how it works in the NBA. He looks fragile to me, and he looks like he's always hurt. I don't know if he has a history of injuries, but the guy looks like he's always going to be hurt. That's my vision of this guy. So
I think he's the kind of guy where it's like I feel like a lot of people think that he could come and make an immediate impact because he looks good, but I don't know. I feel like it
probably could, but
maybe, you know, I don't know. I feel like it still takes a lot of time to develop as a big man at the pace of the NBA.
It really does.
Who knows?
But there hasn't been this much hype around someone in forever.
No,
right?
Like, when you're a giant dude, though, and you can shoot the three, that can be pretty lethal, especially in the modern NBA. So I'm not sure how that goes. Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not any of the teams that recently got first overall picks. It was annoying when a team has like 1 million first overall picks and keeps, you know, and then still can't perform. So, you know, Detroit got Cunningham a couple years ago. The Magic got Paolo last year. So hopefully, I mean, it does feel like all signs point to Houston. I don't know if it's rigged or what, but it would also be hilarious if it was like a really low percentage team like Dallas or something like that, mainly because tanking is so funny and has really taken over the NBA that for that formula to be like totally broken to me is really good because I don't want to see as much tanking. It's super annoying. So I'd love to see like a Dallas
what are the odds for Dallas?
Like that. That's 3%. Dallas is 3%. Is 3% odds for Dallas.
Really
so
really low. That thing's rigged, to be honest with you. If I'm going with a rigged angle, getting Luka to actually be relevant in the NBA playoffs would be the NBA's priority. And bringing a player in like that would definitely help if he's going to reach superstar levels. But 3%, man, they didn't tank properly this year. Like that should have been more of a focus. If they really wanted to do something.
Well, they went for Kyrie, and then that kind of destroyed their season anyway.
Who would ever go for Kyrie? Like who ever thought that was a good idea, right? What about LG? What about Ja Morant? Like, give me honestly, man. I said it on this show back when he came back. His very first interview after he was reinstated and allowed back, I fucking hated it. The things he was kind of pissy with the media. Like he's like, "Why are you asking me about that? Like, you saw what I did. I did treatment. What else do you want me to do?" Like, I'm like, dude, that is a terrible attitude. And that tells me that you did what you had to do to get back, but you don't give a shit, right? Like, this guy's unbelievable, man. I cannot, I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into a whole thing about this.
It's too bad. It's honestly, it makes me kind of sad. It's just like, it's
insane.
Yeah, I think to me, from a top level, it's really shows you what it takes to be a true superstar in the NBA, and that it's not just being really good, and being a good team player and and all that kind of stuff. It's having really good people around you, that it's like the Steph Currys and the LeBrons of the world, and maybe even the Lucas, right? Like, I don't know what kind of people he hangs out with, but he's not making Instagram videos flashing guns. It's like that to proliferate, it's like they have a good team around them, either their parents, their managers, their agents, whatever that is, and are managed well by their organizations who mentor them and encourage them to have good people in their lives. That it's like none of those guys are self-made, that it really takes a lot of people to do that. And I think for a long time people made fun of LeBron for having his best friends around him, but clearly that served him incredibly well, because that's one person that on in an unbelievable level, Phil, like, has never ever really had any kind of off-court controversy where he did anything wrong. And you can't say that about guys like Jordan or Kobe. You know what I mean? Like, each of them had different issues that you don't really think about as much anymore. But for someone like LeBron and Steph, it's like, it's really hard, because that's something you can't do on the court. You can't just be good on the court to have a good image and to make the right moves. So, I hope for Ja's sake that he can turn it around. But if he's not aware, like, I don't know if anybody in his entourage can really help him if he doesn't really understand why it's a problem.
Oh, hell no. Not that entourage.
Yeah.
Have you seen those guys? I mean, they're the ones that one of his buddies actually went live on IG to show this. Like, think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. It's like he needs someone like his manager or his trainer or his agent or whatever to be like, listen, like, you can't keep hanging out with people like that. Like, I know they're your friends or whatever, but it's like, you can't, like, that is you're literally pissing away $200 million of career earnings and another $200 million of endorsements over the course of your career. It's like you're pissing away $500 million, right? For all we know, for Ja, like, who knows? The sky's the limit. He's such an incredible player. They have a great core. They have a decent core, a huge window. That it's like, that's where it's like, it's really sad to me that it's like, damn, like, and he's a special player. Like, everybody really loves him as a player, right? He's a unique guy, and it's really too bad. And
it's a good point you make, though, about LeBron. It's a really good point, because LeBron has, as far as we know, I mean, we don't know of anything he's ever done wrong. He's never been in trouble with the law. No infidelities that we know of, like things like that that are very common in the NBA. And someone who reminds me of that and has equal success in what they do, and I know it's going to piss off people because for whatever reason they don't like him, but Drake has the exact same kind of personality in the rap world, and in a world where, I mean, everything they talk about is violence and drugs and things like that. He has managed to keep a almost perfect image, whether he does stuff on the side that we don't know about. And look where it's taken him. He's now in his upper 30s as well, and still dominating the game of rap and hip hop, right? So yeah, you're right. It is tough to see, because like, you have his dad there on the sidelines. And Vince Carter used to have his mom on the sidelines, and she was always getting involved in stuff. And Charles Oakley one day stepped up and said, listen, pal, your mom, no more of this crap. Okay. She's not going to be getting involved in everything that goes on here. Ja Morant's dad, I mean, he was in that scuffle with was it Shannon Sharp, or the players are in the scuffle. But anyways, it's just not working out. No, and I think he's going to be suspended for a long time. And
I think that to me is the best case scenario, is that he gets suspended for the season and learns his lesson, and like has to significantly rewire his social life. But I'm saying that's the best case scenario. I don't know how likely it is, but I'm saying that's the best case scenario.
Like Josh
and just
Gordon,
spends that year freaking training like fucking crazy, comes back twice as big, twice as strong, and then just obliterates everybody. And because he's still super young. Like, that's the thing, is like, he's not even anywhere near his prime. Like, how old is Ja? 23?
Yeah, he's young.
23. Man. He's 23, man. He's born in 1999. You know,
and
what
they
I mean? Like,
dared
so much time still ahead of him.
They dared to blame Dylan Brooks for all that went wrong in Memphis this year. When this guy continuously doing stupid shit like that, and Dylan Brooks, the best part is they cut him. Said he's no chance of ever coming back here. And then the NBA awards come out, and he's on the second NBA all defensive team.
That's like, right. He's on the second
what's
team.
Going on
they say he's never playing again for the Grizzlies because he has an attitude on the floor. He pokes bears and he says all this funny social media stuff, or is like Jaws, like, like doing things that are way worse.
And I did see him linked with the Raptors, LG. You mentioned that like last week. I think it was you that said like he better not come to the Raptors. I said, well, you better believe they're going to take a sniff because they're kind of missing that like jerk attitude a bit. And
they are.
He'd be a perfect fit for that, especially now that he's a villain everywhere he goes.
I'm excited for the NBA offseason, honestly. Like, I think, a lot of teams really think they have a shot and have a window, and you're going to see a lot of different coaches in different places. You're like we've seen the last couple of years, you see still quite a lot of player movement around the draft and around free agency and stuff. So I'm excited for the Raptors, see if they make any big changes, who they hire as coach, and also just to see what happens with even think right now, like, every team that isn't still playing, that's not playing in the conference finals, considers their season a failure, right? Sixers, the Suns, Warriors, you know what I mean? Like, all those teams have big changes coming, right? So I think that's really interesting, and it's never a dull minute in the NBA. Let's put it that way. But Phil, okay. So do you have a pick for the finals at this point? Because to me, I think what's funny is that like there's been for every single round, well, not the second round, but every other round before that, the Miami Heat are massively underdog, even against the Celtics, even though the Celtics like barely survived. Like, they were a couple minutes away, and like Jason Tatum waking up away from losing to the Sixers, and then had a great game 7. But to me, it's like the part where the Heat are still like a plus 1400 to me is absolutely insane. Those are what the odds are for them to even, and that's to win the championship. So yes, but even I don't know what their odds are in the series against the Celtics, but I think they deserve a lot more credit.
Well, considering
especially and they're going to get Tyler Hero back, I'm assuming sometime soon.
Yeah, and considering the Celtics, we've been saying for weeks that they've looked like they're on the mend. Like, late in the season, they look like this. They look like that in the first round, and they certainly look like that against Philly. Like, Philly's incompetence. And the fact that Joel Embiid is a fake MVP when it comes to the playoffs, okay?
Yeah.
That's the only reason the Celtics they didn't lose the series in game 7. They actually lost it in game 6 in that fourth quarter. Like, that was one of the worst fourth quarters I've ever seen, right? I was following it. I wasn't actually watching, but I rewatched the highlights after, and I saw everything. But yeah, that's where they lost it. So the Celtics for me are on the mend, but then you can also say that a true champion finds a way to always win and survive. But I think they're
absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. And everybody, I think everybody's hoping Tatum is this big legendary player, and I think he's had some good games in the playoffs, but hasn't won anything. And I think waiting for that to happen. If they win this year, it's gonna be hard to bet against them for a really long time. But if they fail or even don't get past the Heat, which again, I'm gonna say, I've said this many times. Last year, same Eastern Conference final. The Heat took them to 7 games, and we all know, same thing, same situation in the bubble where the Heat beat them in the bubble and took the Lakers to 6 games. So just saying that it's, Jimmy Butler is this playoff monster. They've got Kyle Lowry now. They had him last year. Getting Tyler Hero back also could be a huge boost. So I'm not betting against the Heat necessarily.
The Heat have championship pedigree. But I the way I see it is, first of all, LeBron James is something like 6 or 7-0 in his career in conference finals. He has never lost in the conference finals.
That's right. Yeah.
When he gets this far,
other than Orlando, he lost to Orlando in like 2008 or something like that.
Okay, so then it's 6 or 7-1, something like that.
Yeah. So Dwight.
But when he gets this far, it means that the team has figured it out. They figured out a way to have guys perform kind of the way that Embiid said yesterday, which weird comments, man, saying like, it needs to be more than me and James out there. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but that's the case with every team with superstars.
Outscore both of them. I think Tobias Harris, I outscored both of them.
Dude, it's just weird comments. Like, the guy's just weird. Okay. And he wasn't even crying after. He was hugging players. That bothered me too. I'm like, dude, get out of here, man. You guys keep same bullshit every year. You guys are the Leafs of the NBA. You really are. Okay. Stop shaking hands and getting crazy. LeBron, when he loses, he walks off, doesn't talk to anybody. And that's because he cares. But the Lakers, hard to see them lose. Like, they've come so far now to the point where we're like, this is the worst team LeBron's ever been on. What a joke. Where's he going next? To, they've put all the pieces together. They're healthy. Okay. And I remember a game about 2 months from the end of the season between the Lakers and the Celtics. It was an amazing game that went to OT. And it was the game that LeBron got fouled by Jason Tatum for the game winner. And then through that hissy
and he
fit.
cried and went totally
It went bonkers.
Yeah.
And
it was like a Saturday night
national
TV game, whatever.
It was an incredible game. It really was. It was in Boston. And I just have a vision of kind of the previews of the NBA Finals showing that moment over and over again. And there was
you mean
so
in
much
like the
drama,
opening,
right?
like a hype video
Yes,
for the finals is they do.
100%.
The NBA would love Lakers Celtics
They
final.
would love
They'd
it.
love
And they
that.
missed it in
Always
the
the
bubble. They
marquee.
wanted
Yes.
that. They didn't
Yeah.
get it. So
No.
for me,
Jimmy
Denver's
Butler had other
another
plans.
team, kind of like the Celtics, that have looked weird at times. Remember we said against Phoenix, they look cooked, man. Like, we don't know what's going on with these guys, but they look like garbage on the road, right? The Lakers are not the Lakers are not going to go on the road and just keel over. They haven't done that on the road. Okay, so they're going to give Denver a hard time in Denver. If they can steal a game there, then I love this play, man. This made me
Here's
laugh.
the clip. Here's the clip of LeBron complaining.
One of the
after
worst
this
non-calls in history of the
game.
NBA.
Whenever this was, looks like it's 3 months ago. Which date? January 28th. Okay, here we go.
One of the worst non-calls ever.
James comes up top.
Tied 105.
James on the drive, gets in the paint.
LeBron goes up for a layup.
And the game is over. Lakers furious. They thought he was fouled.
No, Lakers are not furious. LeBron
He's like crying on the floor. He can't believe it. Sorry, LeBron. For once in your life, a call went the other way. It's so sad.
Regulation
So sad.
is over. We go to the 5-minute OT.
Oh, we got to see. Where's the replay? Here it is.
It was a huge
foul.
foul.
Tatum slaps his arm. Like it's an awful foul.
Here's where
Fully
we
stops
talked
the
about challenge,
layup
Jeff.
from going in with a
Not having
massive
it
hack.
after a successful challenge.
Watch, right
but they
here.
wouldn't
Boom.
be able to challenge that anyway
Slaps his
because it's a
arm.
non-call. But again,
Hold on. Let's see. Where's the
Then
replay of
to
the freak out?
purpose in our
there
game.
it is. Yeah, there it is.
Overtime is next.
Nobody else is freaking out. It's just him.
Yeah, nobody else cares. Oh man.
But I could picture that being shown like a million times. The comments that were made after about the officials were pretty nasty. That would be shown again. And I think the atmosphere of Celtics and Lakers. I'm not saying the referees decide games all the time in the NBA, but they certainly lean a certain way. And I watched that whole. It's interesting. I watched that whole documentary on like cheating in sports, players who've accepted money, and they had a Tim Donaghy segment. And I actually hadn't understood. I did not know how Tim Donaghy actually was operating. I thought he was just like, he was told, hey, do this, make sure they win by 6 and make it happen.
Yeah.
But that's not what was happening, right? It was kind of a whole different story.
Yeah,
And,
learning more about it.
He says many times that there's so many refs that are involved in that kind of stuff and whatever. Anyways, so I don't want to get into that, but I do feel like they can manipulate series, and that maybe the NBA, that documentary convinced me the NBA is involved in some weird stuff when it comes to that. Okay. There is no way in my mind that the NBA will miss on having a Lakers Celtics twice. Okay. They missed on it in the bubble, which is a complete disaster.
Yeah.
They are not going to miss now that these crowds are back. The atmosphere in that game, you just saw it in that video, was phenomenal. And to go 7 games between these two teams, the historic Lakers versus Celtics, the world would explode. If it's Nuggets and Heat, the NBA will fucking lose their shit. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's just like I think Kobe.
Nobody
Kobe
wants
I think the Kobe Lakers and like the super team Celtics faced each other 2 years in a row, right? And traded titles. And I think that was like such a prime time for the NBA, especially and that was also at the end point of a lot of that generation's players, right? So I think with this, you got the same thing, like old ass LeBron going for one more, but then this time it's not old players on the Celtics, it's the young up and comers passing in the torch. NBA loves that. Compare that to Denver Nuggets against Miami Heat. No
chance, man. Although I will say I do want the Lakers for one reason and one reason only. I can't wait, and it's terrible to say, I cannot wait for the next Anthony Davis injury. Okay. Like it's always the end of the world. And then he's always back. Like, all right, I'm good. Right. Like, but man, like there'll be drama. I already know this. I love it. Right. The Boston crowd is out of control as always. The Lakers look like world beaters right now. And I think, like I said, I think the Celtics, the fact that they probably should have lost both series at this point, or could have lost both series, may be building them into a stronger contender in the sense that they've faced all the adversity now, right? The Heat, I feel, are going to extinguish at some point. They have a good team, but I think it's coming. But we'll see. That's my prediction. What's your prediction, LG? Same thing?
Oh man, there's what I want. I really would love like Denver Heat final, just because I love underdogs and I love things going the opposite way. And I think that'd be good. But yeah, for ratings, like there'd be nothing better rating wise and excitement wise than LeBron against the Celtics in June, going for probably his last championship. He's tied with Steph for rings. He wants to win one more and get up there with Kobe and maybe try for one later to get up there with MJ. But I think that this is going to be his last really, really good shot. So I think it's very important. It'll be important to the NBA. But again, you're saying that they look dominant in the Warriors series. I don't think so. I think if anything, yes, like LeBron and Lakers look good. They got what you need from every championship team, which is contributions from absolute nobodies, right? Like Lonnie Walker and Austin Reeves, who's suddenly like an absolutely incredible player. Very similar to Tyler Hero back in the bubble. Yes. But I will also say that I think the Warriors gave away a lot of games in that series.
Oh, 100%.
Like you had Steph and Clay and Poole and everybody like launching bomb threes in the last couple minutes, all of them clanking off the rim.
Clay was awful, dude.
Clay was terrible. So I see that more. And again, it's not the Lakers were bad, but I see that more as like the Warriors were not the team everybody thought they were, kind of thing. So I think the part where it's like, hey, the Lakers took down the Warriors, like has less weight to me than it did if this had happened in the prime Warrior years. So I'd say that if anything, it just made the Warriors look old and tired and in need of change and whatever that is. Phil, let's take a quick look at our redemptions. Okay, let's take a quick look here. My calls the last 2 weeks have been terrible. So I called Kevin Durant last week, which was a total mistake. I bought 5 of them. Now they're all worth like 1/3 of the price. So that's way down. And I also
our friend Dollars and Cents bought like 9 of them or something.
He bought a bunch and everybody in our Discord bought Jalen Brunson's the other night. I was like, you never know, the Knicks could come back or at least win Game 6. Also a huge mistake. But right now, again, like Butler was the best call that we had through the entire playoffs when he was $3. Now he's up to 19. Like he's up again, and Tatum is literally almost 3 times the price, or 2.5 times the price. If the Heat take Game 1 on the road, Phil, does this Jimmy Butler, and he looks incredible, does the Jimmy Butler $19 go like pop up at all? Because Tatum definitely dipped the other night. But after Game 5, Tatum went down to like $20 after Game 5, and it was like, this series is over. They're going back to Philly. The Sixers are going to break through. He dipped to 20. Now he bounced back. So I see out of all these prices, I would say that Butler to me is the best bet for a come up, but losing Game 1 and Game 2 in Boston and that
it'll go down. It's
gone.
Way down.
Which is actually, I would say that's actually the best opportunity is if they drop Game 1 and that one dips. That's not a bad one. Yeah.
That's the game you have to play. So it's kind of like betting on the games. Are you, what are you predicting? Are you predicting the Heat to take 1 of 2? Yeah. But which game are you predicting to take? If you think they're going to lose Game 1, then just wait. If you think they're going to lose both games, then wait. Right? If you think they can take Game 1, then you're taking a big chance. But at the same time, I don't know. Is Jimmy will he go up that much? Is my question. Will one game really influence the series that much?
I don't know.
People's thinking that much. I don't think so. I don't think that even then. I don't think that people think the Heat could win the NBA Finals at the same time. Right?
No, it seems unbelievable that the Heat would win this year. Right? Like it seems incredibly unlikely, like led by Butler, Lowry, Max Strus. Like, I don't know. It's not highly likely, but anything is possible. Just feels like you're saying.
What's the price for Anthony Davis right now? Because I used to have him and I'm like, let me just unload this guy while I can still get something for him.
Let's take a look. I
unloaded
AD. So the unused redemption is $20
hasn't changed
right
that
now.
much.
And we're still in the window now. We're like just to catch everybody up, where like the round 2 redemptions are open right now for half the teams. So that's going to add the other dynamic to the market, is that you're going to have the round 1 redemptions, round 2 redemptions. So I would actually look that some of those might fluctuate as these series go on, because again, to get that final like super highlight moment, you're going to need round 1, 2, 3, 4, and an unused redemption from all the players. So that's actually where I'm most interested in to see some of those fluctuations from all the players as it goes on.
I agree. We'll see what happens. I think. Yeah. I mean, look at that. Tyrese Maxey down to $4 now, and
all that. And this is what I love is that you need winners and losers. So every other team that's not in it, that's gone now, get out of here. Like Kevin Durant's moment down to $4. Like, nope, it's over. Who cares?
I will say the floor though for teams that are out is like around $3. It was it's gone up from 2. It was 2 for a long time, but you could barely get anything for 2. And I collected a ton of them at $2, but I haven't been able to find anything under $3 for a long time. So we'll see how that plays out. If people decide to collect the set without redeeming them, you know what I mean? Like, who knows? We'll see what happens. But certainly if you're doing that, bam,
and just to take a broader look at the market, so like all the bottom moments of the remaining 4 teams are all the Heat moments, first round and redemption moments. And then you've got like the rest of the floor is like Michael Porter Jr. It's at 18, his round 1, Lakers wild card at 19. So yeah, you're right, Phil, that I think that guys like Anthony Davis and that unused wild card, I think that those could be good bets as well. If you really believe the Laker fix is in and that they're going to win, that I would definitely see those having a bit of a come up because they are going to be in high demand. Every single one's only limited to 5,000, right? So you'll see some really interesting dynamics, I think, play out over the next 2 rounds now that there's only a few moments and 4 teams to focus on. So it won't be too bad. Phil, do you want to chat at all about now we're into Top Shot, about last week's major trend of yet another funeral for NBA Top Shot, led by Mike Zakarian's stream, literally titled NBA Top Shot is Dead. That lasted about 2 hours. And I will say, Phil, I was watching most of that stream and many people were calling for you to show up in the chat. And he, to a point where even at one point, Mike from Team Hold said he was wrapping up the chat and he's like, I will stay on if Phil D shows up in the chat and you did not appear. Do you have a take at all on that? And this is all stems, for anybody who doesn't know, this all stems from last week. Top Shot was doing a premium pack drop and a legendary drop, both of which failed to sell out initially. Usually these things are hot off the press. They vanish immediately. But for anybody who wanted legendary packs, you were able to get back in the queue many, many times and buy as many as you wanted, which is, I think a lot of people saw as the demand has significantly dropped off for Top Shot. Phil, you were absent that day. Your hot take on that?
But hold on. Are you leaving something out? Is that what really happened? Because I'm not going to lie to you. I was on the road that day. Okay. So, and for anyone who knows, our Canadian phones do not work in the US unless you pay a daily fee of like $15. It's ridiculous. Okay. So unless you want to be like, for me, paying $50 just to go from the border to the hotel when I can just wait for the Wi-Fi, it's not worth it. All right. I don't care. We have plenty of phones in our car. Maybe we'll leave one on. Maybe we won't. So I turned my Wi-Fi off. I put it in airplane mode. And I put my GPS. I left it. I put Waze because I need to see where the cops are and things like that. And I let it run. So when I turned it back on, a good 5 or 6 hours later, my phone was blown up. And I did see the call outs, but like when I said, oh, and I asked you, I'm like, oh shit, is that still going on? You're like, dude, that was like hours ago. I'm like, okay, I missed the whole thing. But wasn't there a scandal where one account bought like hundreds of packs or something?
So there's one account that this account had only ever made like one purchase ever a year ago, January 2022. They bought like a pack and that's it. And they showed up on that day and spent $40,000 on packs. And obviously knowing our community and how things have gone, the immediate assumption is that it was Dapper Labs employees using like some kind of burner account just to buy, just to make it look like there was demand and forcing the sellout. And that nobody's been able to answer it. Everyone's hounding Top Shot, being like, what's the deal with this fake account? Nobody's proven that it's fake. There's no way to prove that. And obviously people's identities are protected. People are trying to find out who that is, but that is the rumor that was happening, creating artificial demand.
Were the packs opened? So, has the person opened the pack?
Yes, the packs were open.
Did.
Yes.
And have they sold stuff?
I don't know, actually. That's a great question. Wow. Let me find that. I don't think they sold anything, but
I thought this is what the scandal was over. I didn't realize the stream was because packs weren't selling. I thought it was because of the scandal. That's what I thought.
No, the stream was not because of the scandal. Like happened after the stream happened. Mike's stream happened because things were not selling at all.
But how many Top Shot is Dead streams or funerals can we do? Because if we're still doing streams called Top Shot is Dead, is that not giving? I mean, it's not dead if you're still doing streams about it. You know what I mean? Like it still has your intrigue.
Okay, here we go. Here's Mike's tweet from Team Hold. Whoever purchased 60 legendary packs today, if you're willing to come on stream, I'll give you my entire NBA Top Shot account.
And nobody was
So-
able to figure out who that was.
No,
Like,
nobody has
sleuth-
figured out who
There's
that
not
is.
enough sleuths out there anymore. It's that game. is
No,
done.
yeah,
Like,
we need
no.
Taylor Stein to get back on.
Yeah,
here, or
no,
anybody
he's
else
long
like that
gone.
to come and figure that out, because
No.
we really need somebody to get to the bottom of this. So that
I
was the
mean,
controversy.
Yeah.
We wrote about it in the newsletter. I wrote about it in the newsletter, and just to kind of reemphasize that point, like whatever, I don't care about this, burner account, but I just think that, overall, I think that Mike's stream was largely motivated by the fact that nobody wanted these packs, that nobody needed more legendaries and metallic golds or any of that kind of stuff in the ecosystem. From that, plus I think like a rookie legendary drop that Top Shot's supposed to do this week, that they were supposed to do last week, or they pushed it to this week. They're set to pull in like another 2.5 million of pack revenue. And I actually then did some digging and went back to the Roham AMA from last week, or from the first week of March, which you and I from the first week of March. The
was
text
that in
AMA.
March? Was that really?
It was in March. It was March
Holy
3rd
crap.
from the text AMA that you and I covered. And I basically looked at, I reviewed the AMA to see what he had said about selling too many packs and too much supply. And to my surprise, I didn't even go looking for this. He said that they were going to really think about the total pack supply. Here, let me pull up the tweet. And I tweeted about this, and I think people got a kick out of it. So he said, with the new restructuring, because that was after Top Shot had let a bunch of people go, NBA Top Shot is not under pressure to create revenue in a way that's not healthy or sustainable. And that since then, Top Shot has brought in more revenue on pack sales than they did for the entire NBA season prior to that. So in 70 days, Top Shot has brought in $6 million of pack sales, including the drops last week. Whereas the previous 130 days, they only brought in 5 million. So after saying that they're not under pressure to create revenue, they went and doubled the revenue in half as much time on the platform, while the community and the content creators and everybody is screaming, please don't release more supply. And they've gone and done it anyways. So I think that that's kind of like the most recent controversy. Obviously now it's Monday and people have kind of forgotten about it. But I do think if they do release this final legendary rookies pack, which nobody needs, like you don't need to prop them up. Every rookie has a 4,000 mint count of their rookie moment. And I think that that's like really great. And it's good on its own. If they do release this, then, we'll probably be singing the same story very shortly after it happens.
LG, we are still 31 spotlight moments away from that set being done. Okay?
I'm sorry you chose that set.
We're
I feel
down
so
to
bad that you
4
chose
teams
that
here.
set,
Okay, we're down to 4 teams here, and we're 31 moments away from the spotlight set being done. I don't know what's going to happen. I do love the freebies that they're doing in the challenges. Like they're just you don't even have to do anything. If you own the spotlight set or even half of it, every single challenge you've already completed, you get a free moment, and you can either just dump it or do whatever you want with it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have no clue how they were
going
to roll this out. It's a disaster.
Oh my God. Well, we'll see. I mean, we're singing the same song, so I don't want to spend too much time dwindling on it. But it is a tough time. This is the time where like interest in the NBA winds down. Totally, there's the drama of the Final Four and then the finals. But it's like at the same time, it's like holy shit, do you not care about a freaking I guess Bruce Brown's still in it, but like I don't know, name any like a Precious Achua moment from a game in January. Man, does that not matter at all?
Even the Scotty Barnes one, I was like, dude,
like
I collect all the Raptor stuff, but I don't care.
I'm not thinking about Scotty Barnes right now. Like I don't care about. I'm interested in Scotty Barnes in like October, where it's like, all right, it's 3rd season, let's go, But it's like, man, do I not care about Scotty Barnes at all right now, even as a Raptors fan, So, anyways, okay, Phil, let's move on because we actually have some special guests waiting in the wings.
Wow.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you right now that I know practically nothing about the project that they are here to discuss, but that they, or at least one of them, I don't even know who else is joining, but one of them was in a movie that many people listening to this, if not all of them, know incredibly well. I'm not going to reveal anything else. I'm just going to get straight to the guests, and I only know one of them's name. Okay, so that I'm just going to do it. And we have our applause thing. So please, and we haven't had a guest in a really long time, Phil, when it's been you and I. So please welcome to the first mint, Victor Dimattia or Dimasha. He'll have to tell me how to do it, but I'll say Victor Dimattia because that sounds like the most interesting way to say it. And then he can try and say our last names and we'll have a good time. Hello.
Wow, thank you for the applause. That was great.
Dude, how do you say your last name? Just before I forget.
I say Dimattia. Dimattia is probably
Dimattia.
more accurate, but I say Dimattia.
Dimattia.
Mhm.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds very baseball. Dimattia.
And then I'm joined by my castmate from the film, Grant Gelt.
Hello, Grant.
Maybe I should introduce myself. I'm Victor Dimattia.
Yeah.
I played Timmy Timmons in the movie The Sandlot.
Whoa! I told Phil
dun,
knew.
dun.
Phil knew about it. He already knew, but the audience didn't know. Nobody
You
else
shouldn't
knew.
have told me,
Yeah.
LG. That would have been even funny.
I should have just been like, "Hey, here's some people you don't know." Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and then of course, Grant, go ahead and introduce yourself.
And hey, what's up? I'm Grant Gelt, and I was Bertram Grover Weeks in the Sandlot.
Nice.
So you got two of us today. Yeah.
Wow.
I told my 13-year-old daughter, I said, listen, I'm doing a recording like we do every week, but this is a special one. We're going to have at least one of the characters from the movie The Sandlot, which she's 13. And when you think of when the movie came out, it's quite incredible that a 13-year-old has watched it like 20 times and knows all about it. She knows everything about the movie. And she's like, you're joking. She's like, not the real ones that were in the movie. She's like, I'm like, no, the real ones. I just don't know who. So I said, well, who do you think it will be? And I don't know if you guys get this all the time, but she's like, is it Squints? I'm like, so I don't know if he's the most popular with the new generation, if that's who comes up first every time. But no, she was absolutely amazed. I told her she's going to have to watch if she wants to see who comes on. And I know she'll definitely be watching this episode. And I'm actually not going to tell her. I'll let her go through the entire episode and see that you guys are on. And she will absolutely love it. She just couldn't believe it. She's stunned right now that we're going to have at least one character. And I didn't know we'd have two from the Sandlot. So welcome, guys. It's awesome to have you guys here.
Thank you very much. It's really great to be here.
Yeah.
What is, can I just ask you, because we're going to talk about, you guys have a project, the 30th anniversary of the Sandlot, which we actually tweeted about a few times last month when it happened. So you guys have some NFTs out. So we're going to talk about that. And you chose a very good podcast to come on because we are an NFT sports podcast. But I'm sure a lot of people want us to ask you questions about what it's like to be stars from the Sandlot from 30 years ago. What is day-to-day life like being somebody who's honestly in such a, not just like a famous movie, like something that's so cherished, right? Because I think a lot of people, if you guys are able to take yourselves out of it, like really, especially people around our age, like really see that as such a huge part of their childhood. That was in the era of like so many movies featuring kids that were wholesome, but also kind of like funny and weird and gross at times that were coming out. You know, I remember so many films like that. And amongst all of those movies, that one is like stands up there, like pretty high, maybe above the rest, but up there with like, I don't know, Mighty Ducks or whatever else, right? How does that, is that something that impacts you guys every day? Do people ask you every day, or is it something that only comes along once in a while, or any other stories you can share from what that's like today?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's pretty incredible that 30 years later, people are still so into the movie, and you got 13-year-olds that are watching it and can quote all the lines. Everybody loves Squints the most, of course.
That's crazy.
But I love Squints. He's great. No, I mean, the movie's still a huge part of our lives. We see all the guys all the time. We have a group text. We text each other almost every day.
Wow.
And we do a lot of appearances. We do a lot of like Comic-Cons and trading card shows and all sorts of stuff. So we do appearances, movie screenings and stuff like that all the time. So it's pretty incredible. It's really a blessing to be part of something like that.
How did you guys audition for the parts you got, or like was the audition like, hey, like 1950s baseball boys? Like what was that part like? You know, I want to know how people end up being like child stars.
Or
like,
was it just mom or dad saying, hey, you're going to this audition? And
yeah, or did mom or dad know the director and they're like, all right, just put my kid in the movie? Like, I don't know. How do you end up in a movie like that when you're like 10? You know?
A little bit of all of that, really. So,
Yeah.
you know, David Mickey Evans, the writer and director, had a very specific vision for who these kids needed to be. And it was more than just the words on the page. It was how this group of people really interacted together. So it was a big studio film. So there was an international casting call for it. They looked at kids from all over the world for these 9 roles and were mixing and matching. Originally, when I went in to read for the first time, I went in to read for Scotty Smalls. And I went in, had one audition, and did not hear a peep for 4 months, and then got a phone call and said, hey, they've cast the film. There's one role left they need. Come in and read. And 3 days later, I was on a plane to go to Salt Lake City to film. So, and at that point, by the time I read, the other guys were all picked. And it really came down to, is this the right group who mixes and who matches? And much like a lineup, they made some last minute changes, right before the game. And that's how we all ended up together. Yeah, but, the cast is from all over the country. So it's nice to be able to still have this between us that, really keeps us all together.
Yeah, I think we all read for Smalls because he had the most lines. So they just brought everybody in. They go read for Smalls just to get a sense of who you were. But then, they kind of like put us with different groups of kids and saw, what the best kind of chemistry was and made sure we could play baseball and all that. And it was a long process.
How did they make sure you could play baseball? Would they just toss you a ball and see if you can hit it? Or
they took us out onto a baseball field.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So someone who may have been really good at reading the lines and fit the exact role, but couldn't do anything baseball related, was not picked. That's crazy.
Or they had to make some real big decisions on it. If it was worth it. But yeah, the first 2 weeks of production was more or less our spring training. When we went out to Salt Lake, it was rehearsals every day, blocking. We were on the field running drills. We had a coach who was a former minor leaguer who was he ended up playing the role of Grandpa Squidman Palidorus in the Beast flashback. He was the police officer forever.
Oh, yeah, of
that
course.
Was our baseball coach.
Oh man,
so really,
I bet you can't find that anywhere on the internet. That's for
sure. not a single spot.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty neat. We kind of felt like big leaguers to a certain extent because we were out there and turn two. It was pretty rad.
Wow. That's really
I saw
cool.
something the other day that like Charlie Sheen for Major League actually developed an 85-mile-an-hour fastball. And at the time that Major League fastballs at the time were only 89 or something like that. So that he was pretty close, but also that Wesley Snipes could not play baseball at all. So they cheat. If you watch the movie again, Wesley Snipes literally never actually hits the ball or catches it. He's always just kind of there, which is funny because then they put him in The Fan as well, where he plays basically a Barry Bonds character.
Right.
But it's the same thing where he never actually does a baseball play because he's so bad. So I find those stories really interesting. You guys are saying that it's you actually had a baseball tryout as part of it as well.
And
awesome.
Scotty Smalls, who was supposed to be the worst one in the bunch, Tom could actually play baseball, so he had to unlearn a bunch of skills in the beginning too. And he was terrified that when his coach was going to see the film, because he was just saying, "I didn't teach you how to do that, man. You know how to throw a baseball." So it was pretty fun.
That's what he said. He said his coach called him after he saw the movie, and he was like, "You ruined me. What did you do?"
I'm the coach of the kid who doesn't understand anything about baseball. It's oh, that's not a good endorsement. Right on. Well, guys, let's talk about the project. I'm going to pull it up here, and we'd love to hear a little bit more about it. I will say as well, we covered the industry quite a lot, and I've been advocating for a long time that film releases are a really great spot for NFTs, right? That's a great way for people to add to their experience. And I love that you guys are doing something commemorative, right? Because it's all about those little mementos and offering something, really fun to super fans. So tell us a little bit more about the 30th anniversary Sandlot collectibles.
Yeah, well, we teamed up with Ken Carl, who's a really, really amazing artist. He does hand-drawn cards, all one-of-ones. They're just amazing. Some of them are just almost photorealistic. So we commissioned him. We gave him a bunch of our own photos from behind the scenes and asked him to put a set together for us. So the set is, we got 7 different rarity levels. It's all, in packs. So, you rip your packs, and there's the base level. We got, 5 different backgrounds on the base level. Then we got animated cards where it fills in the, starts out as a black and white and it fills it in. There you go. I love the animated
cool.
We got the refractor cards, we got hologram cards, and then we have some physical redeemables as well. So there's a golden pack in there. If you pull the golden pack, then you'll be able to redeem that for an actual physical pack of the cards. And then we also have some one of ones in there. There are 18 one of ones, and if you pull one of those, then you're going to get a handmade card from Ken Carl. So 9 of them are refractors, one for each cast member, and 9 are the like actual hand drawn original cards.
Very cool. Who did you get?
I love
did
the
you guys
backgrounds.
did you guys
Backgrounds are
design
really
like this like program? Like did you guys come up with like the dynamic of it of like 7 different backgrounds and like the one of ones? Did you guys work with somebody on that? How did that come about?
Yeah, Victor and I put the whole collection together. This is the second drop that we've done on Lax with the Boys of Summer property. So we did a series 1 drop back in early 2021, I believe. When we created that entire collection from our original behind the scenes photos. So we took photos that Victor's dad had taken on set, that a bunch of our families had taken, and turned those into digital cards with signature editions and foils. And we just wanted to have some fun with it. It's rare to be in a position where you can take your own photos from basically when you were in summer camp and turn them into these collectibles. So we really fell in love with the whole thing. So we spent the last 2 years really putting this collection together, and now being able to really leverage a lot of the more utility that these drops have to offer. Now we're able to do crafting challenges and redemption challenges and set completions and stuff like that. We're just getting ready to announce the set completions as well as another piece.
Actually, we can give it to you guys as an exclusive if you want. We haven't announced it yet.
Whoa!
Yeah,
we got a first minute exclusive here. Yeah, so so the all the tokens, the redemption tokens, are going to be all dropped on August 26th, 12 p.m. Pacific. That's when the tokens will go out for you to be able to burn for your redeemables. So anybody on that date and time that's got the full set is going to be able to get a token that they'll be able to redeem for an autographed 8x10 with members of the cast.
Ooh, nice. That's pretty good. That's pretty. I like. You guys are really like thought about this, and it seems like really centric to like what people can do. Do you guys have a Discord where people can follow along?
We just launched that.
You just launched it. Okay.
Yeah, we launched it in tandem with this new collection. Victor and I, we're fans of the space. We participate in a lot of collections, and we've really fallen in love with the space and believe in the future of what it's going to be. So we as collection creators now are going to go through the same ups and downs that other creators are going. Okay, well, we got to get a Discord out there, and we really need to create a place where people can talk to us. And then we thought, well, all these years of Sandlot being out there's never really been a centralized place for fans to come and share their own fan art and share their moments about the film and meeting us and all that stuff. So our goal over time is really to turn that Discord into really sort of a fan-facing area where we're going to run it and mod it to the best that we can, but have it be a place where everybody can come and just kind of hang out, and we'll do as much as we can in there over time.
Now, you guys say that you guys are in a chat with all your former castmates. Are they all in on this as well? And what do they think of this if they're not? Like, what's their views on NFTs and getting the whole community in the Discord and all that? Because I know a lot of people I talk to, they're like, what's Discord, right? So I would assume that a lot of the heavy, hardcore fan base of the Sandlot is like, man, I don't even know what Discord is, and I don't want to know, and I don't want to know what NFTs are. So 2-part question there, but yeah, what are the other guys' thoughts, since you guys still talk to each other and all that, and are they involved in this?
Yeah, so the other guys are involved a little bit. We incorporate them as much as we can. I mean, Grant and I are really kind of the guys that are deep into the NFT space and have been involved in it for a long time. So we're the ones that are in there and in Discord every day talking to people. But we got some surprises lined up, and we're kind of integrating the guys as much as we can, trying to get them comfortable with it, and the fans as well, trying to get them comfortable with the space. That's a big part of what we're doing, a big part of what we did with the first series was kind of, thinking of ourselves as ambassadors for the whole NFT space and the Discord community now. Getting people that maybe wouldn't have otherwise taken an interest, trying to get them involved and kind of show people what's so cool about it and why you should be part of it.
Dude, if this keeps going well, I think what you guys should do as a request from me is to go buy the rights to NFTs for all the other like movies that people love from their childhood and just become like a studio that just cranks them out. You know what I'm saying? Like Sandlot's fantastic. And then it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of other good movies that like people want to like own some kind of memento from like back then, so I feel like that could be a lot of fun. And, see if you guys are the masterminds behind this, maybe that could be something you could do.
Will you go on Shark Tank with us and help us with that pitch? And, help prove the market. No,
Shark Tank? You think it's a Shark Tank idea?
No, we need a platform. No, it's funny that you actually bring that up. Because in the foundation of when Vic and I first started talking about this a while back, that was really sort of part of the initial ideas. Was it's not just us that comes from this generation where we have assets to these assets from back then, but we have this circle and community of really nostalgic driven properties, and we all grew up together. So we're friends with the Ducks and the Little Giants, and we see everybody at these conventions and stuff like that. So that's one of the great things about the Web3 space is if you know what you're doing or you have the time and the curiosity to dig in, you can really start to create your own direct to consumer sort of relationship with your own stuff without having to take on all of the risks that comes with a traditional collectibles marketplace, and be able to sort of bridge that gap really nicely between the spaces. It's a really cool thing to continue to explore, and it's something that we hope to be able to do. We've got other things planned with this collection first throughout the year, but I don't know, maybe when hockey season gets into swing next year, maybe we expand.
Oh,
quack,
nice.
quack. Because you do have a fellow cast member that was in both, right?
We got it. Yeah, Brandon was in both.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was in both. Yeah, that's right. Phil, do you have any games you want to play with the guys?
I do, but first, I really have to ask the guys though. Where did your NFT journey begin? I love to ask people this because 95% of the time when we ask people this, it's always NBA Top Shot in some way, shape, or form. But then you always have different answers. And I'm always really interested to kind of hear where it started for you guys and actually when it started, because a lot of people were there super early, like LG was. And then you have those who came in when the hype really took off. They were actually showing, it was like Jake Paul. They were showing again today that NFT that he bought for like $675K that is worth $10 today. And it just reminded me of back then that was like, man, that's cheap. Yeah, he can do whatever he wants and that'll be worth something forever. So where did that journey start for you guys in the NFT space?
Well, it was late 2020, I think, early 2021 that we kind of, right when some of that stuff started happening with the the Jake Paul thing and then NBA Top Shot started coming out.
And the apes and all that.
It was like early 2021, I think, when we first just started becoming aware of it peripherally. And I think Grant called me up and he said, have you heard of NFTs? And I was like, kind of, yeah, but let me look into it a little bit. And, we had been talking for a while about finding a cool way to put something out for the fans that we had some control over, because you see all the shirts and the everything everywhere with all the Sandlot stuff, and we didn't have any control over that. And some of it's cool and some of it's not that cool, and we really wanted to do something that we could curate and be in control of to put out there for the fans. And so when we started looking into what this whole weird NFT thing was, we were like, dude, this is a really cool way for creators to have full control over what they do. So we started dabbling in it a little bit. I think my first NFT was a Leonard Nimoy pack.
Wow.
which was fun. And
Yeah.
it was
Was
like,
it on wax or what
Yeah,
was that?
Yeah.
Because they had like an illegal like Star Trek collection on wax for a long time that like I don't think was licensed
Illegal.
at all, right?
No, it was Shatner did it and Nimoy did
Really?
it. And that's
That
and that's
was
when we sort of
legit.
yeah.
first started looking into wax because
Ah,
I think the article that I had sent Vic prior was around the time that Kings of Leon had announced that they were doing that NFT backed record. And we've been in the industry for a long time. And I thought, well, that's a really cool new way of doing a D2C program. And, looking back at it, it was so early before all the utility and all that kind of stuff that I was like, well, shit, this is a cool road to start going down to bridge that gap between physical and digital and create true ownership. So then when we were looking into it more through the Boys of Summer lens, we were like, well, we need to really hone in an area that our fans and our audience will be able to understand it, because it was very much, you need an engineering degree to figure out how to get a wallet and how to buy and how to get this and that. So we had started seeing a lot of IP-based collections going over to wax. So when Topps went over there, and Hot Wheels, and Funko, and Ninja Turtles, and Street Fighter, and those really early days of those cards, that's when we were like, oh, this is probably going to be the best place for us to get an entry point into the space. And we were aggressive. We worked in with some partners to help us, to develop some tech that allowed transactions to happen in credit cards versus crypto. So, it was really a big mission for us to figure out how to break down those walls for consumers to be able to interact, because like Vic said earlier, so many of our fans are traditional collectors. We're the Blockbuster generation and the Red Box generation, right? And baseball cards. And you go to all these trading card conventions and it's physical cards still. And, that's what got us connected with Ken Carl, because he would go there and make these beautiful cards that people wanted. So we're going to keep experimenting and figuring out what's going to work, because we are so excited to open up what we want to do to a new audience, but we're really excited to be able to help cultivate a new generation of physical collectors into this space to go, okay, cool. The digital and physical relationship can really be truly unified in a way that it's never been before, and using the utility behind it.
Awesome.
I mean, that seems intelligent. So it's pretty good. Seems like you thought about it a lot. No, I'm saying that in the way that we get people to come on and I don't know, they're just like, this is a good thing and you should buy it. But you actually gave like a normal person explanation of why you're doing this and what. No, but I mean that in a good way. Like, it's like you sound like a collector just like everybody else, and you're thinking about this in a way that like we want people to think about it. So
yeah, well, thank you.
I mean that as a positive, Grant.
No, that means a lot. Like it really does, because Victor and I, we talk about this stuff all day long, and the perception of what the collector fan base is means the most to us, right? If people look at what we're doing and go, oh, these guys are full of shit, it's going to impact everything. We don't know everything, that's for sure, and we're going to get things right, we're going to get things wrong, but 2 collections, it's taken us 2 or 3 years to do it, but we do have a vision and we do want to continue to share the roadmap, and we are here. So the more support that we can get from the community will allow us to be here longer, but we have every intention of accelerating and not taking so long between these drops, and really starting to bridge the gap differently so that there's more to talk about than just like, hey, buy this drop. That's cool.
Awesome.
Now,
Great.
about 10 minutes ago, LG asked me if I had any games for you guys. And like I do best, I derail things completely, and we go in completely different directions. So I will circle back. But the reason I derailed it is because I had no idea that both of you were coming on. Okay. I knew it was only one of you, but I wasn't sure what was going on. And I had absolutely no idea that you guys still all talk to your former castmates. So I was going to ask you questions about your former castmates and, come up with some really wild stuff, but I assume you know most of it. Grant, I'll throw this one at you first, because I need to know about this. But true or false, one of your former castmates acted in an independent film called Get Married or Die.
I'm going to say true because I know all of my castmates, and if one of them hasn't been in a film called that, I'm sorely disappointed in every single one of them.
I'd be surprised.
All right.
True.
Victor, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, it's true. I can confirm it. I was there.
I knew it.
That's amazing. Okay, well, I don't know if we should ask this, Vic, but what is that all about? Like, is it appropriate to talk? I don't know. With that kind of title, you never know what it could be, right? That's why I'm asking.
It was
an
an interesting little indie film. It was, I think it was Jason London or Jeremy London, I don't know, one of the twins. I had a really short cameo in there. I showed up as a cop for a day. It was a buddy of mine produced it, and they needed somebody to come on and be a cop and just say like one line, and so they asked me if I would do it, and I said sure. I've never been a cop before. Let me pop in and do that real quick. So yeah,
I love that made it somewhere in the Sandlot like message boards that you were in that when it was such a minimal role. I love that the fans don't miss anything. Like they just don't, right? That's one of the that was like one of your in your bio on this site. It was listed that you acted in that. And I'm like, okay, well, you must have had a huge role in it. Now you're telling me you're just a cop in it. So LG, do you have a visual on this?
Like if you blink,
I don't have the clip, but I'm just looking at other films that Victor was in, and you were in Cool as Ice with Vanilla Ice. Phil, sorry if I'm bringing the trivia way ahead. Am I getting?
No, you're not. That would have been actually cool to put in that bio, but it mentioned that movie specifically. Okay. I'm not sure why.
What did you do in the Vanilla Ice film, Vic?
I was the Cool as Ice. I mean, I'm sure you all remember that film very well. But Ice shows up with his motorcycle gang in this small town and falls in love with a girl from the town, and I play her little brother that instantly becomes obsessed with Vanilla Ice. Like I see him, and he's so cool, and I just decide I think I try to cut my hair like him at one point in the movie, and and then spoiler, I get kidnapped, and he has to come save me.
Oh shit! So you're pretty prominent in that. Like it's a pretty big role. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, you get kidnapped. Shit. And what are you in Dennis the Menace?
I was Dennis.
You're Dennis the Menace. Which movie?
It was probably not the one you're thinking of.
Which version?
Okay.
it was a Disney Channel movie. Dennis the Menace, Dinosaur Hunter, and Dennis finds a dinosaur bone in his front yard, and
that's amazing.
Pandemonium ensues.
Hold on, no, we're watching the trailer. Hold on, I can't go on to the trivia until we need to see this immediately.
Dinosaur Hunter.
Grant, would you have got that one? If I
bring this back,
would you have known this?
We need NFTs of this.
Right. This is amazing.
Maybe this will be the next collection.
He makes grown men weep.
Don't think he's in a very good mood today.
Oh!
Women screaming.
She's lots prettier in real life.
It's held together by specially designed pins.
Like this one?
Yes, just Dennis.
And dinosaurs crumble. Just a boy, but boy is
bad enough. Destroying the museum.
Here.
Stay there and keep that flea bag mongrel on your side of the fence too.
The world's wildest kid is always living up to his name.
Yeah, it starts the lawnmower.
Dennis the Menace. And getting into trouble has never been more fun.
He was only trying to help.
All right, this is a 3.5 minute long trailer.
Long trailer, yeah.
That's a long ass trailer to sit through in the theater. Man, I love that. That's like, you're really good as whatever you are, like 4 or something like that. Like
I
you're
was
super
really
young.
I was really young. That was one of the very first things that I did.
Dude, it's awesome, man. You're pretty good. Even from the trailer, like you look pretty good as the little kid. So that's pretty good. I thought it was there's a Dennis the Menace with Walter Matthau who plays Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, and I think Christopher Lloyd is in that one too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so that's what I thought. I think that's the one I've seen.
Yeah, no, not that one. That would have been cool.
Yeah. This seems pretty cool to me, man. That seems pretty sweet. Right on. Okay, cool. That's all my questioning, Phil. You can continue with the trivia.
No, that's good. That's actually better than trivia because, like I said, trivia was so based around former things that castmates are doing. I'm sure you guys know everything. I got maybe one or two more for you guys. So the movie came out in 1993 on an international scale, and in '93 there were movies like, I believe, The Fugitive came out that year. Jurassic Park, speaking of dinosaurs, came out that year. Mrs. Doubtfire came out that year. You could go on and on. Sleepless in Seattle came out that year. True or false, the movie cracked the top 50 money-wise on the international box office that year. Aladdin was another one that came out that year as well. Big movies.
Oh, wow. I'm going to say true.
Top 50 on the international box
International.
office?
If we're counting all the money that came in outside of the United States that year on movies, the Sandlot cracked the top 50. Not counting the United States, and I don't know if it counts Canada or not, but not counting the United States.
If it's not counting the United States, I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna say false.
Okay, sorry, I worded that incorrectly. Yes, not counting the United States, just international countries considered international. I know they always throw Canada in there as well. Was the Sandlot the top 50? So you're saying, Vic, you're saying false?
I say false.
It was not. Okay, Grant?
I'll go true.
The answer is it came in at number 50.
Wait, does that count?
Right.
Is that a top 50 or is that top 50 or not?
It is top 50, yes, because when you give the top
50,
the 50th is always listed. So yes,
okay,
it came in at number 50. And before even looking it up, I didn't think it did. So that's
what was number one? What was number one, Phil?
Jurassic Park.
Had to be Jurassic Park, yeah.
By a country mile. Not even close.
Yeah, of course. Like crushed everybody.
You were a very distant second, like 48.
Yes. Now,
Distance.
do you guys have super? Do you guys have super fans in like random countries, or is it mostly like North America? Because I know it's baseball. Again, I'd love to know who these people were that went.
Yeah, or are you guys big in Japan? Like if you go to Japan and people are like, "Oh shit, this is Sandlot guys." Like, does that happen?
We haven't been, but supposedly it is very big. Like any country where baseball is popular, the Sandlot's popular.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah. I would love to see a breakdown of this to see where that ranking comes in, what countries. It doesn't give it, but that would have been pretty cool.
Which country was the most where was it the most popular out of everywhere in the world? I mean, that includes Canada, Phil. So I feel like a lot of that maybe came from here, but
I think so for sure.
Yeah,
I know we had the tape, and you mentioned Blockbuster and all that. We were definitely at Blockbuster grabbing the Sandlot over and over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really the time that kept the film really going, was those Friday night movie nights at home and being able to grab that tape and sit and watch it.
Well, you'd watch movies you'd seen before. You know, like that's what you would do. You'd go to Blockbuster and be like, "Oh, I'd love to watch this again," because there was no other way to watch movies again unless it was randomly on TV.
And your parents would be like, "Are you sure you're actually doing this again? Like seriously?" And they get all mad and stuff and try something else. But no.
Yeah, you read the same movie every weekend.
We loved it. Like I said, a lot of the questions I'm sure you know, so I'm going to skip them. The last one is: do any of you have any idea who won the Little League World Series last year? From what state? LG, you can guess this one too, because this is a hard one.
I don't know. I'm going to say Utah.
It's going to be my guess. I figured that was going to be a trick question.
Actually, that would have been a good one. It's not Utah, but it would have been a good one if it was Utah, which I actually found out through all of this that it was the movie was filmed in Utah. LG, I don't know if you knew this, but I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
I feel like I'd heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas? Okay.
LG, do you have a guess on this one?
I think knowing Phil, so you guys know, Phil and I are actually brothers. Like we're real life brothers. I'm going to say it's like a trick question. So it's something like either Hawaii or Puerto Rico. Like it's like not like it's, you know, you wouldn't think Hawaii and Puerto Rico is not a state. So it's one of those two.
All right. Well, I guess we've lived together long enough in our lives that you know me
we don't
pretty
live.
well.
We haven't lived together in like 20 years.
Hey, well, that's half our lives. That's long enough, right?
Yeah.
It is a team from Hawaii that won the Little League.
Oh, it was Hawaii. Okay,
it was Hawaii. Yeah, which is pretty impressive, and I know it was a huge deal in Hawaii. They're very pride of their, huge pride when it comes to sports and their athletes.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to put a team together that went to the Little League World Series and won was a big deal, bigger than anywhere else. Like, there was a whole parade and everything. I think when they went back, so
amazing.
Pretty cool fact. Yeah. No, that's all I got, LG. Actually, one of your, I have to throw this one out there. one of your former cast members became a firefighter at some point. See, they know.
Oh,
see
they
see
know.
the heads
Yeah, they
bobbing.
know. Yeah, they know. They got the group chat.
Group chat. I can't believe
Well,
it.
ask. Oh, who became the firefighter?
That was Mike Vitar that played
That's
Benny.
right. Yep.
Yeah, he's a firefighter.
Oh,
Oh, he's
wow.
still a firefighter. I didn't know if that
Yeah.
was current or not.
Oh yeah, he's still a firefighter.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Mhm.
I think is it in California? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Okay, here,
Yeah,
actually, I have I'm inventing a question for you guys. Speaking of Benny. So at the end of the film, at the end of the Sandlot, it flashes forward like 20 years, right? And Benny is in the major leagues. And Smalls is the announcer, right?
Mhm.
But then none of you guys aren't there. There's no future versions of you guys. If you guys, and this is at the time, so not like a current actor now, but if you had to pick a hot actor of the time to play you in the future, like flashback kind of thing, end scene, who would you have chosen? Of like a mid-20s, early 30s, like actor from that was popular in like the early 90s. Who would you choose?
That's good
to be you.
Oh, I would want Christian Slater.
Nice. Okay. Grant's thinking.
Well, I've got to do math in my head now. He's too old, but I'm going to go with it anyway, which is Jeff Goldblum.
Oh wow, nice.
Oh, nice.
That's
that
good. That's really
worked,
good,
man. I don't think he was that. He was.
Older.
I think
he's older than you think.
Yeah.
LG, he is.
Yeah, he was. You're right. He even in Jurassic Park. I think he's like. In his
He was
early
making
40s.
Jurassic Park that year, so he wouldn't have played yet.
Right.
They
Yeah,
wouldn't
he
have been
wouldn't
able to get it.
No. Slater's good. We joke sometimes on like who would do this. We've Wade Boggs has come on board and said he'll gladly play Smalls' real father. If the series goes, we'll be able to get Boggs to come on board, which would be really
series fun. Goes, yeah. Does that mean we're in for a reboot, guys? Because they seem to be rebooting absolutely.
There's been a lot of talk about it.
Sure.
There is a script, I can confirm. Yeah, you never know. Wow. They've had us come in and like pitched us on all the ideas and stuff. So like we know what would happen. I mean, you kind of have a hint at the end of the movie because it tells you like sort of what each character goes on to do. But there's a pilot and everything. So.
Do they still want to see your baseball skills?
I hope not. I think some of us still got it a little bit.
They had us get together. It was for the 25th. We did something with the Today Show or something, and they had us all on a field, to get together. They're like, all right, now we're gonna have everybody bat. And we're like, oh shit,
complete train wreck.
But it's like, don't worry, it's live.
Doesn't matter anymore. Yeah.
Oh man,
it was fun.
That's really cool.
Hilarious. Oh, right on. Well, guys, thanks so much for coming on. Vic, thanks for messaging us to make this happen. This has been fun. It's been cool to chat with you guys.
Thanks for having us, man. This is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Really Is there anything else you guys want people to know about the collection? Anything else at all?
Yeah, you can go to boysofsummer.cards. Packs will be on sale now. I think the sale's going to run. We're going to run it for the next like 4 weeks. And when it's over, I think June 19th, right? We're going to be dropping a special commemorative token, and anybody who holds that token, there's going to be some really, really super cool utility that we have planned for that.
Nice.
Oh, we love that.
Nice. Well, everybody go join in the Discord. Careful what you guys wish for. You tell us to go to the Discord, because sometimes Phil and I join a Discord and
that was going to be my next.
We would love to have you guys.
I started fights today in the NHL, like whatever breakaway Discord, just going there and destroying Montreal fans and stuff. So I'm always ready for a good old Discord rumble. Is always a fun time.
We tend to cause a lot of chaos when we join Discords. When we first go in there, we tend to come in guns blazing.
So another exclusive is LG and Phil are going to be our first official guest moderators of the Discord.
You don't want us as moderators.
And the Discord was banned. The Discord was violated every term of service set out by Discord.
Actually, LG probably has one question for you guys. Do you guys allow GIFs and things like that to be posted in your Discord, or is that banned?
I believe we have set
GIF.
it so that GIFs can go.
Okay.
But
thank you.
Yeah,
it's very important to me.
There's a GIFs channel, I believe, for Sandlot specific GIFs and memes, topic specific LG. So, yeah, we've tried to
Nice.
put the channels in there that we feel people would want to,
For sure.
just start their own organic conversations around, and we're open to suggestion as to what else to do with it. So we're gonna
I'm
figure
sure
it
you
out.
guys are
with
only
everybody else.
scratching the surface with that stuff, to be
If
honest.
people come from listening to this episode, can they get a special role that's called like First Mint special role or something like that? And they just go in there and say like, I'm here from the First Mint. You give, and it doesn't do anything, but just give them a little like a color for their name or something like that.
Yeah. When's it airing?
Oh,
it literally
check
goes
your
live like
Discord
as
in a few hours,
soon as we wrap up. Yeah, it's like it'll be on
I'm
pretty
gonna have
soon,
to
and then it
build
goes
that
out in a
role real
newsletter
quick.
tomorrow morning. So nice.
Oh wow, the
Yeah,
newsletter.
We'll
too.
do that
Wow.
for you. We'll do that for you guys.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
utility
Yeah.
for all our holders. Look at that utility. All right, you guys get a special role in the 30th in the Boys of Summer Discord. How about that? How
That's
about
really
that?
cool.
Bear market, baby. You get special roles. That's pretty good. Okay, last thing. Vic sent me a photo of him with Vanilla Ice, and it's signed. That's pretty freaking cool, man.
Wow,
that's pretty great, isn't it?
Actually awesome.
It's one of my favorite pictures.
Oh man, even
is
that,
so
like even like before knowing you, if you just showed me this photo, I was like, this is like a nostalgic photo right there. Like that is like a dope photo to just have as like a snapshot of like films from the 90s, is that's pretty good.
That is
Especially the
hilarious.
getup. I love that they dressed him like Guile from Street Fighter, basically. Like that's the outfit, is that he's some kind of like crazy like military kind of
the
dude.
movie's worth watching just to see all of his wardrobe. It's pretty amazing.
Nice. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Right on, you guys. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Phil and I are down for a couple more minutes and wrap up, but you guys are free to go. And everybody check out 30th anniversary of the Sandlot, Boys of Summer. We'll post the links in the podcast description. And great to meet you guys.
Cool.
We appreciate you guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
That's it.
Wow.
That was amazing.
Wow.
I can't believe it.
Wow. Phil, if you could pick, okay, we did Sandlot. If you could pick any other film from our childhood to get like randomly get the cast members on, what would you choose? What would be next?
It's hands down Mighty Ducks. Like there's nothing else. I mean, we still refer to like every time I see a terrible shot in hockey, I still call it like a knuckle puck, right? But that dude, that knuckle puck guy, forgot his real name. He has not changed since the movie. He still looks
Keenan Thompson. He's on SNL. He's the longest running member of Saturday Night Live. He looks identical.
He's one of the only kind of childhood sports movie characters where you can be like, that's Knuckle Puck guy, even when he's like 50 years old. That's
instantly.
Him. Yes.
He's 45. He's 45 and he looks the exact same as he did in Mighty Ducks. I don't even know how that's possible.
But I mean, Mighty Ducks, The Sandlot, those were, I wanted to bring this up. It's in reading that list of movies there from 1993. It makes me realize how much the movie industry has changed since those days. I feel like the classics don't exist anymore. You pull up a list of movies from last year that were top of the box office. You're like, what the hell are these
sequels?
Right? Like, what is this
all
crap?
Shit?
Yeah. Right? But that's also normal, LG. I mean, they're eventually going to run out of things to do, right? If you think about it, 100 years down the line, you're running out of stuff to do. It's just the way it is, right? And they don't make the classics they used to make back in the day. Like these sports classics, when we were kids, we grew up in a very special era when it comes to these movies, right?
Yeah. Well, what they would do back then is I think that they would fund a bunch of like rando movies and then knowing that some of them might turn into huge hits, right? I think especially making kids films, you're like, okay, let's try all this different stuff. And they would greenlight and give budgets to like really, really out there concepts or things that didn't have proof. It was just like, listen, people love kids movies. They love sports. So let's crank out a few every year. And that's what the studios would do. Whereas now it's so formulaic. They're like, you know what people love? Iron Man. Like just like, people love Vin Diesel racing cars.
Yes.
Like it's just the same shit. But even something like Fast and Furious, which is ironic now that it's such a long running franchise, that's an example of that type of movie that they're like, what's kind of trendy with young people? Like street racing. It's kind of dangerous. Let's pick basically an unknown cast and put them into this movie that has no proven formula. Like there's no proof that anybody wants to watch a movie about like street racing and drama and all this kind of shit. And it turned into one of the longest running franchises ever. So I think it's funny. Like the studios just don't have the appetite for risk that they used to, and as a result, you don't have these like classic gems that get made anymore. That like because Sandlot is such a good example of like a total like that's like an indie classic, man. Like that something that's like that was just another kids movie, had no right being like this huge well-known movie, but it is right. So, because it like, who are the stars in that besides James Earl Jones that they must have paid like 90% of the budget
That's
to,
right.
to sit there for literally one freaking scene. He's in one scene. That's it. He doesn't do anything else. He just shows up. He's like, I'm blind. Have your ball back. See you later. Like he doesn't do anything else. And then is it Christian Slater? Who plays his dad? Who plays like his stepdad? It's not Christian Slater. Anyways, but yeah, but those are the two people that are like, let's pay them, and then like let's just find kids that we can pay. Like, I don't even know how much.
Wait, hold on. They got Dennis the Menace dinosaur edition. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. After a 3-minute trailer, you don't make 3-minute trailers.
It's true. That's what got him on the list to do the audition. Is that he was in the movie. Actually, I'm surprised he didn't have a bigger role, considering that he was the Vanilla Ice Kid. Right, because that's pretty. I mean, I guess they all have a pretty even role outside of like Benny and Smalls. They all have like the kind of their moments. So, anyways, that was cool. That's super random. That's another thing that like Phil. There's no way in the world anything like that would have ever happened if we didn't do this podcast.
It's true, and I bet like I said, we just found things out that a lot of people didn't know. Like I had no clue.
Yeah.
They made them do an actual baseball. Like, can you throw a ball? Like, oh shit, we didn't even think about that. Can you even hit a ball? Like, we can't be filming a baseball movie if you guys can't even swing a damn bat, right? That's hilarious, man. I thought that was really cool. And it sounds like there's more Sandlot stuff coming. That's what I got out of that conversation, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty
more
exciting.
NFTs, and that there's a series in the background that they're trying to greenlight. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they brought that. That seems like prime thing for Netflix or for Disney to resuscitate, is to bring that back. So and hit on that nostalgia. And even like you're saying, if your kids are into it, then most people's kids.
It'll keep going forever. That's the kind that appeals to absolutely everybody who likes sports. It's just, they even mentioned it. Little Giants is another one. You watch Little Giants, you can really, really relate to a movie like that, right? It's your classic underdog versus, kind of bad guy movie, sort of, in the sense that there's always, the aggressor in that one in Little Giants, and then the underdogs, and it's just how it is. And Rick Moranis in that one was from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and I feel like back then it was a totally different style, but. Like I said, we grew up in the right era for those, man. We have so many memories of movies. In The Sandlot, I would say, was one of the movies I've watched the most all time. It has to be.
I think it's funny that in the last couple of months, we've kind of taken like a nostalgic flair where we start the shows by talking about like things from our childhood. And then the first guests that come on, that message us to come on, is the guys from a movie from 30 years ago.
It's actually unbelievable.
That's all I want now. I don't want any new people. I only want people from things from a long time ago.
All right, let's see who you bring on next.
Yeah, who else is dropping an NFT collection? That'd be pretty good. Phil, I mean, I don't think there's anything else to chat about. We chatted briefly on Top Shot drama, and I don't think there's much else to go into. Have you been playing? Maybe we could talk about Sorare for a couple minutes. Have you been playing Sorare baseball or NBA at all?
I am falling off the face of the earth with Sorare. It's just when I have to set a lineup once a week, I can get it done. But if I have to set it up twice, the fact that all three sports are at different times is where I struggle. I'm constantly going in there and looking at the upcoming kind of slate to see when I have, and then I have a mental idea of when I can set lineups. I do like to set lineups. I'll still do it, right? It's free for me. So, but I do miss it sometimes. Like I miss the deadlines, and then I have to wait 4 or 5 days for another one to come around. But I'm getting a lot with baseball now, to the point where I can almost put a training team together from all the freebies I'm winning in the other contests. But I'm not hardcore into it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is kind of like NBA playoffs, wasn't that big of a whoop for what they did, right? We talked about this extensively of like the points, and you get to shop in the store and all that kind of stuff. And even today, like, I don't know, I placed in like everybody gets a common card, and I got like a tier 2 common card, and then it was Darius Garland. And I was like, okay, thank you. I can't use that at all. Like, maybe give me a player.
Oh yeah, the NBA. Playing. I keep getting those.
Yeah, NBA. Yeah. I was like, okay, thank you. Seriously. Like, what do I do with this? Like, why don't you give me a player who's in it? Like,
I'm shocked that they actually.
What do I do with Darius Garland? I know there's like the free swap every day, but I was like, it's a common. There's not even a mint count for these. Like, just give me somebody that's current. Give me a no-name player.
Doesn't do that. Like what?
Yeah, I thought that was kind of strange. And I don't know. Yeah, like NBA has been good. I still enjoy playing it, but it's getting narrower, and I don't really have enough like paid cards to compete anymore with so few teams. So and their volume and user count is down like pretty hard compared to what it was like 2 months ago. But I think that's normal. Like I don't think every NFT project has to like prop up through the playoffs and stuff like that. I think it's normal for them to have like a natural wind down. So I'm not NBA. I think they did a great job this year, and hopefully they're retooling for next year for another big launch for their season 2. Baseball, I'm enjoying. And winning some cards here and there, which is good. And it's a good way to kind of passively follow baseball, because baseball is hard to watch and hard to follow teams outside of your own. One thing Sorare did reveal, Phil, that I wouldn't want to talk about was they, on the soccer side, last week, they announced benefits for collections, which we've talked about a few times, where it's if you own, maybe you missed this because you were on your road trip.
I didn't see that.
But basically, if you own the full set of a team for a given season, you get a percentage boost in the contest of those cards. So, and that's only for soccer. So, but let's say if you did apply this to baseball, it'd be like, if you own all the Blue Jays cards from this current season, not last season, this current season, you can get up to like a 5% boost on those cards during the season. So they are rewarding that collector thing. It's not significant. And I think that they have like they actually rolled something out called a collector score, which is hilarious. It's so similar to Top Shot. But what I wanted to say, I can tell you don't care. But what I wanted to say is that on the NBA side, a couple months ago, when they rolled out like the team collections at the top, it says like you have your cards and you can go collections, and it shows you which players you have from which teams. As soon as they did that, I went through every single team to see who the bottlenecks were. And I bought up the most random ass players.
I remember you were doing that.
Yes, I went totally berserk. I was like, I need to go find these bottlenecks, because you never know what could happen from that. So I ended up buying Marcus Zagorowski, who played for Brooklyn, Justin Lewis from the Bulls, DJ Wilson, Josh Jackson, and Gabe Brown, all for the Raptors, and just kind of went and like bought these. And since they announced these collections the other day, one account has been sending me offers every single hour.
Wow.
For
really?
Marcus Zagorowski from the Nets and DJ Wilson for the Raptors. Damn. He's been bombarding me, and this person will send me an offer and 2 hours later cancel the offer.
Oh yeah.
And their name is Gano.
I get the weirdest offers
G-O-N-O, and it's like constant Gano, like at once, like just shows up every hour, like all through the weekend. And he's offering me like for DJ Wilson, Corey Kispert, like it's just random. Either like he offers me $5 or some rando player. And props to you, Gano. Like I can't even keep up. Like by the time I actually check my phone, your offer has been rescinded. So it's very strange.
That happens to me all the time.
Yeah,
I have the same thing, man. People just
right now
offer
he's
and then vanish.
Yeah. So, anyways. I guess I did well buying the bottlenecks because somebody out there wants them, but I think there's literally only one person who's caught on to that so far, and it's Jono, whoever that is. So
well done.
Anyways,
Gono.
Yeah.
Let's go Leafs.
That's all I got. That's all I got about that. So
it's not very exciting right now. That's all I'm going to say. There's not.
And I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Like it's not. It's a less exciting time in sports because we just had like an absolute, like an overwhelming time where it's like April, baseball's starting, first round of the playoffs for NBA, NHL. Oh, it's
one of the
exciting.
greatest NCAA, March Madness, all that stuff.
Yeah,
we just passed one of the greatest.
Yeah, March Madness.
We say it a lot every year, but yeah,
building up to NFL draft, which is like another
NFL
big event.
schedule.
But now it's like now NFL schedule is out. Now NFL, it's like, well, now there's nothing happening. There's nothing for a while for NFL. NBA, it's like, yeah, it's exciting, but it's it's down at this point. You're like, yeah, I'll watch some of the games, but it's down to 4 teams. So it's a little less exciting in a way. And NHL, we don't care. So and you're in the middle of the baseball season. So I think it's okay for things to be quiet. And unfortunately, that means for Dapper that their faux pas end up being a bigger deal than probably they would be if there were other exciting things happening. And also in the NFT world, it is a very quiet time, which is fine. But I'm glad we got funny, notable guests coming on to kind of pass the time.
I love it. We need to do it more often. That's for sure.
Great. Well, Phil, I don't have anything else, so we could probably wrap up right there.
All right. What an episode. That's our first live guest in a very long time. And if anyone out there, this is a bit of trivia for you guys. If you guys can, I guess, go in our Discord or tag us on Twitter, on social media somewhere. Who was the last live guest we had on?
Ooh, like guest, because I did the interview with with Noah from NFL All Day recently, but
the two of us
part of our partnership. Yeah, that last time you and I had a guest on that we spoke to at the same time. Great question. Yeah, I don't know. So
I don't know either. I'll have to go back.
Maybe
and look.
Whoever can tell me first, little prize for you.
Ooh, right, whoever that's my kind of thing.
whoever can message me first with whoever our last guest is that me and Phil spoke to, not on Spaces, has to be something that's in the podcast feed or on YouTube somewhere. So you have to go find that, not Spaces. When we used to do Spaces, we used to talk to like 1,000 people. Okay.
And LG actually gives out prizes. Unlike me, when I announce these things and there's actually no prize, LG will actually give you Contact me. There'll be a little
this
prize.
Will be a prize for you. When we used to do POAPs, you're like, yeah, and you collect them all, there'll be something special for you. And I'm like, no, there isn't. There's nothing coming at all. We used to say that just to freaking mess with me, mess with people.
But in this case, if you tell us the last live guest we had on when the two of us were on here, not on Spaces, LG will give you a small prize. So go nuts.
Prize.
Make sure you tag both of us.
Oh, it has to be a tweet. That's how you want it. You want
it can be a tweet. It can be in our Discord. It could
be.
It
has to be a tweet.
It
has to be a tweet.
Comments.
If it's any other format, it doesn't count. No DMs or anything. It has to be a tweet tagging both of us in the first mint, telling us who the last live guest was that Phil and I spoke to.
Happy
All
hunting.
Right. Okay. Well, Phil, have a great week, and thanks everybody for listening.
See ya.